Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're here with us today. All right. Well, we're going to have a great show. Y'all might want to put this one on repeat because you're going to have to hear it a few times. There's going to be so much information. Tom Althouse is with us. Just in case you don't know who he is the original creator of the movie The Matrix. And so he's going to unpack some of that information. And then we've got quite a few things that we're going to cover today, some stuff that you probably have never heard before. And we've already talked about him coming back for part 2. Paul, I do want to say a huge shout out to Paul, a viewer of ours that put me in touch with Tom. Paul knows who he is, and I just want to say thank you. All right, well, we're going to go on ahead and get right to it. We've got so much to do, and y'all are going to want to hear what Tom has to say. So let's go on ahead and bring in Tom Althouse. Hi, Tom.
Hi, great to be here, Michelle.
Oh, it's great to have you, honey. All right. So the first thing I want to say, just like I said earlier, the movie, The Matrix, the people are like The Matrix, the creator of The Matrix. Yes, the movie. But first, before we get into that, Tom, I want to have people hear a little bit about your childhood because there's so much that goes into all of this and how, just that foundational understanding you and what you grew up with.
Absolutely. One thing that God tells me is show accountability, let people see evidence and proof. And that's been dodged a lot on the air lately. by a lot of places. So this is the actual copyrighted screenplay before I get into childhood here for you. And on this, you'll see the title, which is what they copyrighted. The Matrix isn't copyrighted by Warner Bros. They copyrighted the Immortals title. You'll see a PAU number, which is what you can look up in the Copyright Office. It's bolded, sealed, everything else that shows you. And there's the date of this copy version is 1998. When they shot in 1999, this was the one used on set. So there's no debating it. There's no copyright on the Matrix itself, only on my title by both me and Warner Brothers copyrighting the Immortals title. So just wanted to establish that so people can see there's evidence for this, because it seems like such an outlandish claim. You have to back it with evidence. So as far as the childhood, what's interesting is you compare the writers that were claiming it by Warner Brothers, the Wachowskis, siblings. They don't have the background I have. And mine was such that it was a very violent, very frightening, I call it downbringing rather than upbringing. And so I had to definitely look to God at a very young age. And I looked also outside the sphere of that, or in his world of creation, which I heard in the songs in Sunday school, which was like the animals, the fields, things like that. So I would look and communicate and have affinity with even birds or animals walking around and try to learn how to communicate with them. But I did not feel an affinity with those surrounding me at all. It was a very, very scary environment. Out of that darkness comes that dark piece, the Matrix, where basically I was asking as a child, I want to be close to God. I want to be close to God. I want to, if there is love in this world, I want to be a part of it. And so as a child, I was beaten very badly. I'm not looking for sympathy points, just trying to lay the groundwork of where the work comes from. So I had to create my own world. I wasn't allowed to play. I had to do chores. So doing dishes and things, I was, thinking about the world and contemplating and philosophizing at a very young age. And like I said, at 5 years old, I realized just how terrifying the world was. And I had this idea that if I took on all the sicknesses of the world, then people would be freed and wouldn't have a life like mine. Because I didn't know that others weren't suffering the same thing I suffered outside of those walls that I was in. So it was sort of Cinderella life. So I asked God, if you will, to give me all sickness on me. And I think I've heard others had the same experience as children in these kind of environments, where you do this empathy thing where it's like all sickness on you. And I did get a fever that night. I had a low-grade fever. And I thought that, I was happy because I thought that everyone's going to be happy now. The darkness and horror in this world will now be absorbed by me, and there won't be that anymore. That mentality is definitely in the Matrix story. You see a Christian message that gives glory to God in the original work, original way it's penned, and it was taken out by the Wachowskis, but they kept the same ending. They argued on set they're going to keep the same ending. The fact that there was an argument is amazing enough, because if you have a script that's done, you're not going to be arguing on how to end it if you already have a script there. But this is the script that was in hand, including to even the fight choreographers. And so they wanted the same ending where everyone said to blow it up because the story had been dissolved by lifting all the images out of it. By using the same ending, they have a Christ-like ending. So God's so smart, because the theme is man tries to outwit God, and they certainly did with Hollywood and Wachowskis. And instead, God outwits man, and that ending's in there. It lays the groundwork for the original work to be done, which Roseanne Barr says she wants to make the original film now.
Yeah, I heard her saying that. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, so going back though to the childhood, so how many siblings did you have?
I had 4 other siblings. Yeah, 2 girls, 2 boys.
Are you the youngest?
I was the middle one, and that was the problem. So it wasn't anything I had done. It was by virtue of my placement and my face, which is interesting, because we said about, Pat Robertson wanting to be the face of Christian Coalition, Elon Musk being the face also for people. That's what the cabal does. They use this as a face. And so at a young age, I was told I was too perfect. I looked too like a doll-like, and that I must be Satan because I looked too good. I was like, wow, born into a world where you got nice features and you're beat around for that.
Yeah. So you were blonde hair, blue-eyed.
Blue eyes, dimples. If you see my baby pictures, yeah.
Okay. So was it because you were the only child, the middle child, that's why you were treated like Cinderella?
Yeah. My mom actually wrote me a letter to college. When I got into college, she explained why I've been beaten so badly. She said that her sister was favored in her family and was second born. So she was going to turn the tables on that. So I was second born. I caught it.
Goodness gracious. That's a lot.
Mhm.
Are your parents still alive?
My mom is, and we're very close now. She's done some amazing stuff to out with the cabal. She's the one person that the cabal thought would not be helping me. And instead she got a calling by God. And it was like, we came together on the callings and weighed callings and said, okay, let's work together and get this done right. And she's done a stellar job.
That's amazing. That is really amazing. Okay, so one of the things that I was asking Tom about prior to the interview today, before we went live, is I was like, okay, is there anything I can't ask you about? And I want everybody to know. He said, no question is taboo, transparency, no, just fire away and have a great show. So I just want you to know, Tom, that I wanted to share that with everybody. So we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. And if you got a question, you can certainly send it in, and we will take care of that as well. Special KJ says, I would like to know how Mr. Althouse knows all the deep state design that he portrayed in the movie.
Now, this comes back and bites me a lot because people are saying, well, if he was groomed to lead in the cabal, how can we trust him? And it's played by the cabal a lot, right? And other question surfaces, how is he still alive, right? And so that interplay on those questions are very important questions. You know, is Tom on our side? Is Tom playing us? That's used by their side all the time. How do I know? I was being groomed to lead in the Christian Coalition, and also that was going to lead in the entire cabal. And that's why we can get into that card, that free all card gaming. Yeah. I'll let you take it from there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that's great. And we will get into some of that, Special KJ. So that's a great question. All right. So we talked about your upbringing. You go off to college. I think this is very important. I've listened to a number of interviews and things where you're talking, and you talk about your college time. So you're thinking, everybody's life is like yours, and, you're trying to take on this sickness, and it's so incredible. Just goes to show, even within the midst of all of that, just where your heart was. I can totally relate to that in small ways. Nothing like what you had. So what about when you went off to college? And is that when you started realizing that people didn't live like you, and that what normal really looked like? Or how did college look for you?
Oh, absolutely. At one point I was at a Christian college, Messiah College in Grantham, Pennsylvania. And boy, did the wool get pulled off the eyes. You go in thinking that this is a Christian environment, right? You're going to think everything's fine. There is so much politics and so much of darkness, which attaches that be successful idea, be successful, make it Hollywood. That's why Hollywood has such a death grip on our population and this planet, because it's like everybody wants to be successful, red carpet, that kind of stuff. Not everybody. There's good people out there that have, said no, and God bless them all that do, because that is not the way. And if you look at the word celebrity means worthy of celebration. And so many of our celebrities are not celebrities. They're not worthy of celebration. They sold out completely. When I was at Messiah College, one of the events I've mentioned, I think, is that I was on the soccer team. We were state champions. And while I was on the soccer team there, a member of our team, one of the top players, right, he had raped this poor girl that was a student at Messiah College. So what would a Christian institution do? What would the right thing to do? What is the right thing they should do? Like, what would you think?
Expel him and report him to the authorities.
What do you think they did?
Covered it up and probably expelled her.
Very good. What they did, horrifying. What they did was they got counseling services to go to her and say, you need to forgive this man immediately. Forgive him, and don't talk about it beyond these walls. And what happened is that guy who raped her was playing the next day on the team. No penalty.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I saw an image last night about something similar to that, where, a couple, it was actually Pastor Granny had posted it on her Facebook, and it was talking about, a couple having marital advice or having marital trouble, and they go to counseling, and they're a Christian couple. And that's exactly pretty much what you just said. Yeah.
Well, what Pat Robertson said too. So what I'm saying is what their accusation they will use, those that are guilty within the Christian body, they're going to say that you're going to disrupt the church. You're going to throw the church, drag the church through the mud. That's their command, or what they put on you. So you won't talk about these harming of the innocents. I don't think Christ would intend that. I think we're supposed to turn those tables over and make sure the innocent are taken care of, especially the innocent. And so what you see Pat Robertson saying, there's this, basically you got all these Christian men that hate women, basically, or they're intimidated by women, especially if they're good looking. And it's like, that's what happened to Roseanne Barr in the industry in Hollywood. There's a blend between religious right and Hollywood, where they have a sex ring, things like that. If you knew what I knew and what I've experienced being in that grist mill, but they have this feeling like the blame should be put on the women for being pretty. It's their fault. They're making us tempted. That's the thinking in this Christian circles. And so Pat Robertson actually had an example on his own program, which made me sick. He said that a girl had been raped and that it was her fault the way she dressed. And then another occasion, because I've been part of his organization, a woman had written in on the 700 Club, and they read it on the air, which is heinous way they handle it. She'd written in and said, my husband's having an affair, and I need prayers, basically, that we can have a good marriage. What does Robertson say? He lets the demons run wild. So what he says is this. He goes, well, it's probably her fault. And what she should have done is and be more enticing for her husband so he wouldn't be led astray.
So how does that then happen as far as behind the scenes when the viewers see this? Do they not write in and say, what in the world is Pat Robertson drinking?
What they say is this. This is what I heard time and time again, Michelle. We know Robertson does wrong, but he does some good. You can apply that to Hitler. He made the Autobahn, probably more good than Robertson did. It's like, that's their cover thing. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about what's going on, else you'll drag the church to the mud. It's time that we call accountability in on any that do wrong, because it is a disease and a cancer that's going to continue to spread in those bodies and outward. And when those people leave from that institution, have been indoctrinated into that kind of thinking, acceptance of dark and demonic activity, then that's going to spread into, especially at grad schools, into higher level institutions. So,
okay. That's amazing. So you go to this college, you end up realizing that you had this horrific childhood and that it wasn't the norm. You see these kinds of things going on. At what point are you in college, or was it years after, as far as timeline of you getting the matrix?
The matrix actually comes from my experience at Pat Robertson's CBN Christian University. So what I experienced there and the injustice there, I decided I would whisper through art. I basically became a Teddy Roosevelt. I couldn't think of doing anything apart from what is right. And that was ingrained in me. I had an experience with God where I had asked a question and I got quite an answer. And that really is the roots for the matrix, because of my question to God, my request.
Well, you got to tell us, what was the question and what did he tell you?
Well, I'll get emotional about it. It's in my core, right? So you
can cry on the Michelle Moore show. It's fine.
It's like that Jerry Maguire show, where what's his name? Tillman or whatever is like the football player. He says, "I'm not gonna cry on your show. I'm not gonna cry on your show," and he's like, "Yeah." Anyway, well, here
I may start doing that. We might start have a contest. How many more shows until I make the next guest cry?
Okay, just have tissues ready, anybody. So yeah. Okay. So, but that shows genuine people. If I cry in the air with you, it's because I feel the genuine.
Holy Spirit.
That's what we need. Authenticity, genuineness. That's what you do. And that'll convey, even though people try to shut that down and accuse you of everything from fraud to two-faced and name it. If you're genuine, it will translate. It'll translate from us, and the Spirit will make sure that's there, because the Spirit with us. But what I experienced was I called out to God, basically. And
how old were you?
I was going to go to grad school, just about to go to grad school. And in my bedroom, I was there alone in the center of the room. And I said to God, I said, can't we as your children prove ourselves to you? I said, Revelations, basically paraphrase here, Revelations seems like it's set in stone. Everything's laid out. There's no way around it, almost fatalistically. I said, can we have the opportunity as your children to prove ourselves to you? And it's like Job did. Can we have that opportunity now? I did not have any idea, Michelle, what I was asking. I had no idea what I was asking from our Father. And boy, did he answer. He said that it wasn't audible. It wasn't like somebody like you talking to me where I hear it from you. It was more like in my head where I knew the knowledge, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. I don't have the Christian labels for anything. I just know that this is what happened to me. Right, which I think is good. So he said he had looked for someone and found no one. Now, I went I'll do it. I said right away, audibly, I said, I'll do it. You know, it must have, if anybody was listening and they think I was an idiot, because it's like, all of a sudden I'm saying, can we prove ourselves to you? I'll do it. Like, you know, what's going on with Tom? But the answer came, you will drink from this cup and it will not be taken from you. And I was like, what did I just do? What did I just do? And my whole life after that was basically a sacrificial lamb. I was like, everything I did after that, I had to do it exactly as he commanded me to do it. So when you ask that of God and the Father, he's going to give you a responsibility. He'll measure your heart and he's going to lay it on you. If you want the meat and potato journey and responsibility, you can wear that mantle. You can take that on. But let me warn you ahead of time. It'll be very fulfilling and it'll be a complete nightmare. You know, you're not going to, one of the things he showed me was I would not be popular on earth. I would be condemned. I would go through the Christ experience. That means I'm not Christ. It means I'm going to experience alienation, torture, rejection, betrayal, all those things. That's what I understood he meant by that. And that is that's what you get. And so that was the basis for the beginning of the Matrix story. Then it was just like, I was just receiving. It was like just coming through. I put it down after the Robertson experience. I had to go through that storm. He called it a storm. After that storm, then I was whispering through art what he had me write. I was just following what he gave me.
So you go off to graduate school. Is that where you met Pat Robinson, or was that later, meeting Pat Robinson?
I met Robertson before I ended up at the school. He was recruiting. The Christian colleges is maybe a wake-up call for people. There's actually this network of grooming and selection that goes on. And you can understand the education systems, they have this. Who are your brightest students? Let us know who your brightest ones are, and we want them for our school. So that was going on. But in the Christian college circles, sometimes you get in the religious right, it's a little more nefarious. So I got invited to a dinner with Pat Robertson, and it was like a fundraising dinner, and I didn't have to pay though. So I go and meet him. He says, here's the future. He talks to this other exec saying, here's the future of our country and our world. It's like, okay. Next, I get a call from, I still have that ticket to Robinson's dinner. And then I got a call from the president of his university saying, you're to come here. You need to come here for your grad work after I graduated from college, right? And so I went. You justify things in your mind often where you go, okay, what's the good stuff here? What's my checklist for good? Well, it's a Christian environment. It'll be a good place to study. I ran these through my soul and my mind, and I ended up there.
Okay. Now, when you say you ran them through your soul and your mind, you didn't know yet about who Pat Robinson really was. Okay. So you get there, and how do you end up finding out, and what happens?
Well, there's a different grade system of, a different like strata of if you're recruited a certain way. Like they have A-list candidates, B-list, C-list, right? I was an A-list, apparently.
Okay. What made you an A-list?
My look and my talents.
What about your look?
Look meant I'd be great fodder for the sex ring that operates there.
Okay. So what about you? Is it just good looking, or was that the blonde hair, blue eyes thing?
Blonde, blue eyes, dimples, smile, you name it at the time.
Okay.
That's 30 years ago. Yeah.
All right. And so you said the A-list was off of your look, and what's the second part?
Talents, your abilities. And you advance their organization. You become an asset of their organization. In the cabal, all parties brought in are considered assets. I actually whispered that through the original Matrix story, through the train.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So Tom, what were your abilities at the time so far at that point?
They saw it as athletics, writing, music, sculpting, public speaking, able to persuade, that I looked at people couldn't say no to. They said that no one could say no to me. That was perfect.
You look honest.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You look good.
They try to use it against me now. Now they say he's so convincing, as if that's a bad thing. Yeah. I'm trying to do God's work here. I'm trying to do what's right. And they'll accuse me of being too convincing. He's very convincing. It's like, well, I don't know what you're supposed to be if you're not supposed to convince if it's the right thing and evidence needs to be brought forward. I'm lost on that one.
Okay, so when you get there, do they tell you there's an A, B, and C recruiting levels out the gate, or what did they tell you?
They didn't say it by ABC, but they said that you're one of the elite students. You're the elite students. You'll be moving up fast. They give you this little pep talk where they're like saying you'll be one that'll rise quickly. We're all amazed by your abilities, and so they single you out immediately that you're above the pack.
Okay, all right. At what point do you realize these people are horrific?
On the trip to Cherry Hill in Washington, D.C., Cherry Hill Trailer Park, where the soon-to-be associate dean took me in his trailer, what's it called, the RV, alone to supposedly do research on his manuscript at the Library of Congress, and instead it was for a sexual assault.
Oh, wow. How long had you been at this whole thing with Pat Robinson?
About a year.
Oh, wow. They waited that long.
What happens is he had informed me on that trip that a Dr. Bob Shield, I don't mean to name drop, but I just feel like if God leads me to him, I'll say it.
Sure.
A former Catholic priest had put claims on me in Robertson Circle. They put claims on certain students like they're divvying out gifts at a Christmas tree. And so I was claimed by Dr. Robert Shield. And that's what Sova was talking about, that now you're mine, and that Pat Robertson had designs. It was all explained on the trip. So we're claimed. It's almost like we're toys going to his university, boy toys.
Okay. Wow. This is amazing. Okay. So one of the things that I want to kind of make sure that people understand is that they had what was called like a Christian coalition. And so will you explain that to the audience so that they can kind of understand the bigger picture as well, talking about, the A, B, and C and all of that?
It's a mind blow and it's a mouthful, but what you have is Robertson formed the Law and Justice Center. So he says it basically on his own page, that home page, he says, so he'll no longer be a second-class citizen, right? The whole plan was to form a one world theocracy, which is Robertson's organization leads the way. And that was the agreement with the cabal. And that's why in the Immortals work, you'll see that very thing being echoed, that those outside the program are controlled by this idea of God, which is a Robertson character is under the architect. They took that out. They didn't want that because that's exactly what's going on. But what they do is this Christian coalition was to be a political arm, and you're not supposed to have that in a tax-exempt church situation, but they formed it anyway. And the idea was they took this like failed salesman guy from Florida named Jay Sekulow. I don't mean to step on people's toes, but Jay Sekulow is not all he's made out to be. And Robertson saves the careers of certain people if they'll be loyal to him. It's all about loyalty, not your credentials in the end. And that's what they make it very, very clear. I had many people telling me they were in top positions where they had no skill, and that said it all. No skill for that department. But because they were loyal, they were moved up quickly. They couldn't believe how much they were getting and how easy it was just for being loyal, right? And so the Christian coalition was formed to influence world governing bodies across the globe, Jerusalem, Washington, D.C., you name it. They have these offices. Jay Sekulow heads them. And the Law and Justice Center then works with the top lawyers and military of these different countries. See what's coming? So they can then influence and steer Robertson's plan for that one world theocracy, which has nothing to do with God. It has control of the people, and he's a first-class citizen. They also were responsible with Bush. The reason that I was so put upon was that I was to be the face of that Christian coalition to get people, especially women, to get on board. That's what he explained to me, right? And what was to be in that was that I would have the best of everything, pressed down, overflowing, the best of everything. They even assigned a girl to be my wife who came up to me saying, I'm to be yours, a beautiful girl named Christine. And so they have everything in place. So they don't take a chance on how your image will be publicly. You know what I'm saying? And so what's interesting is they then, what they're trying to do is he was running for president at the time I was sexually approached by this Dr. Sova, who's now at Jerry Falwell's organization. They pass you around, when you're caught, perpetrators get passed around, and so he's down there now in the communications department. But what happened was Robertson was running for president. That sexual approach happened by Sova. I got the blame for Robertson losing his presidential run in '88, right? So he actually says that God said he'd win. He blames me for that loss because I was the hiccup in the whole thing where that sexual approach happened to me. So that's what's going on. But he helped Bush with the Christian Coalition get elected. Now follow this. So what happens is, here's the trail. Bush actually lists, or Newsweek, you'll see the Newsweek article, it's a cover. You can spot it or look it up. Newsweek does an article about Bush's dream team being Robertson's Christian Coalition because it helped get him elected, right? And so what happens is, that's the one they put, who elects immediately right away, puts Gary Klausner, this judge, ultra-conservative judge, in place in California, that if I ever rose up with my screenplay, he'd make sure it gets shot down as a favor for his appointment by Bush and Robertson. And he did exactly that. And so what you have then is, and also what's interesting is Bush did this faith initiatives program. This can be looked up too. Anything I do can be vetted and looked up. But the faith initiatives program, one of the first things they did was give Robertson like $1 million, the biggest money ever given to a Christian body or organization, if you can call it Christian. So he gets this faith initiatives as a thank you from Bush as soon as he gets in the office. And guess what Bush does when he exits the office? Gives another big package to Robertson from the faith initiatives program. So here's your payoff for getting me in. Here's the payoff for staying with me while I'm in office.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I gotcha. That makes sense.
Stuff. Yeah. So that's the problem. And problem is, groomed to be a leader in it, they don't know what to do with me.
What did you just say?
Being a leader, being groomed to be a leader. So them, like, meticulously by them, makes me a real problem if I'm not accepting their awards. They think everybody will step in line and take the chair, as they call it, offering the chair. I didn't. So therefore they got a real problem. What do you do?
They never expected you to turn it down.
No, they thought everybody has their price.
Okay. And so at what point what did you do for them to realize that you weren't going to be part of what they were doing?
They called me into a meeting and they said that, it was with their president. The guy who actually called me on the phone and said, you're to be here, come to the place. He's at that meeting. The dean of students is at that meeting. This other guy, or the president, so it's the president and this Heinz Schonoff. Now get this, here's another, wow, you really have to put your thinking cap on to get through this, because anybody can tear it to shreds and go, this can't be, it's too much. And in fact, that's what they're counting on. Yeah. They're dealing with ex-Nazis, right? It's coming out now, the agencies are putting, I think we're in the right time to bring this forward. That Operation Paperclip was also a companion program with Operation, what was the name of it? Sunrise, I think it is. So what you have is top Nazis, even the SS, are being brought to America, and even in their Gestapo height. Top. Yeah. And so Robertson's daddy was a U.S. senator. He was in on the dibs of recruiting those guys. So you have these guys that aren't even green carded, like Heinz Schonoff. You get more German than that, from a Nazi family who's working for Robertson. And what's wild and so surreal is he comes into this meeting to address me with the president, and he has this heavy Nazi accent. He's going like, so Tom, what makes you think that you are so special? It's like, I can't even do it. But the thing is, like, he's asking me all these questions. And here's the thing, Michelle, I'm being faithful. I'm like relaying whatever they ask me. The pencil never moves when I talk about this sexual assault. The pencil only moves on the pad when I'm talking about what Sova shared about the organization. Sova shared a lot about Pat Robertson himself and the organization because he wanted me to go to bed with him, right? To upstage also Bob Shield, the Catholic priest that had claims on me. He said, Bob Shield's gonna be so mad at me for having you now. So what you have is this giddy, stupid competition, and it translates to Disney, religious right, and the cabal. And let me tell you, the number one top offender next to religious right is Walt Disney, his organization. They share the personnel back. But anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so a couple of questions. So you're in this RV. I want to go back to that. And you're I'm assuming assaulted. And so how much time from that time to the time that you find yourself in the office and they're finding out that you're not part of their game?
Well, that's the amazing part of this. They will make sure you go down the road they want you to go down. They can have control of the outcome. The end justifies the means. So I had no intention of bringing forward what happened to me. I thought as a Christian that I should just pray for this man, even though horrendous things had occurred. And maybe, God, you'll deal with this and get him some help. But they set up an ambush. Here's what they did. When I got back at CBN, I was called in by one of Dr. Sova's friends named Darlene Graves. She calls me in. She's an adjunct professor in the drama group, right? I was in the drama troupe that traveled, a very lucrative position. You get to go to England, perform all over the place. So I was up for reinstatement in that body, that touring group, which is really a coveted group. So what happens is I'm called into her office. I did not know they had a Dr. Chuck Parker up against the wall with the glass listening in. They're setting me up to talk about the trip. And they're like, so Tom, Darlene Graves is in her office saying, because his is joining next to a wall. He's like, so what happened on the trip? I'm like, nothing really. She's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, then she's like, well, Dr. Sova was with you. Is there anything that occurred between you and him? And she's pressing and pressing. And finally, I thought I have a responsibility to tell her, keep it private. I said, well, I don't want this going anywhere, but yeah, something happened. A professor, something happened that really shook me up. Then she accuses me out of that I spilled the beans on Sova. With Dr. Parker to back her up. What they do then is very important for people to understand, especially in Christian circles, how these organizations work. They do what they call is a information meeting. Remember that name. Spell it out, share it around. Information meetings. What are information meetings? It is the dark, demonic, evil side of Christianity. That sect that is gone and has the price. Mm-hmm. Here's their tool. Information meetings are where they will actually ask different people It's also called sourcing by the agencies. Taking away your pillars, your support system. They'll ask people do you have anything bad you can say in my case? Or if it was you, they'd say, friends people even family members would be called in and said, can you tell us anything about Michelle that's bad? They go, no, Michelle's wonderful. I love it. Okay, you just go. Do you need anything? No, just go. We don't need you. Someone else comes in that you probably can think of. Someone else comes in and they go, do you have anything bad you can say? Oh yeah, she, and it gets wild. It'd be almost like, yeah, she turned me into a cat, like that Monty Python thing. And then I got better. It's like, okay, good. You attend the meeting on such and such a date. Good, be there. Another one comes in. Can you say anything bad about Michelle? Well, I don't know. She kind of looked at me cross-eyed one time. Perfect. Can you come to the meeting on such and such? Suddenly there's a meeting called an information meeting with only people that you're not invited to, Michelle, where it's all those that'll say anything bad, and the fireworks start. And no one's supposed to talk about this later. And you lost your jobs, you lost your position, lost your education. Everything's done, and you are blacklisted because of an information meeting. This is the go-to method they use on statesmen, on other people, on stateswomen, on everybody else, in Hollywood, in religious right circles, and it's filtering down to churches. It is insane. I was on the SSE International Shakespeare Tours. Robertson's group got to them, and they had an information meeting.
Wow, and they do an information meeting. This is interesting. Why is Pat Robertson why does he have the position that he has? Is he what is his background like? Did he come from Project Paperclip? What's the deal?
Here's the deal and how he got into what he did. So there's nothing benevolent about it. There's nothing that's going to lift the spirit in us. But what he did was he was looking for money, all out money and power. That's it. And these people, when they get in the cabal, it's about success and power. My sister went with the cabal, with this congressman who's an lifelong FBI agent that's doing all kinds of things, disrupt even Ukraine. She said when she got with him, she became a different animal. She said, I'm about success and power now, no longer about peacemaking. It's this weird, like zombie-like reaction where that's all their focus is, success and power, success and power. See how Hollywood plays in. So what's interesting is that you've got this whole thing translating that spreads out like a cancer, right? But give me your question again, because I tangented off to the examples that were just.
No, you're good. I was just saying, why him? Why Pat Robinson in that position? Perfect.
Let me tell you why he entered into the religious right. He would have been a shoemaker if it was more profitable to get success and power out of being shoemakers in our time. Whatever floats the boat. His goals, you have to look at the core of the person, right? What does he want? Like we said that in performance. Like I won awards in performance because you understand the system, which is you have to have your motivation. What is it that you want as a character? What did Robertson want? Robertson wanted success and power. So he's in Manhattan, right? He's going to the hub of where he thinks at the time that'll affect and translate. And so he's with his wife, Dee Dee, right? And Dee Dee and him are in Manhattan trying to, be what they called at the time jet setters. So they're trying to be like those that travel the world and are brought in the top circles. And a lot of times they do this in the cabal where you're introduced to everybody and passed around, introduced, and you feel like you made it. It's a cheap way of getting the person to feel like they're being rewarded, right? My sister has this all the time where she's taken around to dinners by Brian Fitzpatrick, Pennsylvania, lifelong FBI operative and congressman. She's taken to dinners, black tie dinners, and passed around, and she hasn't done anything to merit it, just introduced to people. And you feel like you got a reward for that, right? So that's how they do it for a cheap version. And so Pat Robertson is there, and this pastor shows up. The Toronto Star actually did an article on this. This pastor shows up driving a really nice car. I can imagine what kind he is. Really nice car, really nice clothes, and takes them out to the finest restaurant. And the dialogue basically in the article is translated as, Robertson goes, "You mean you can get all this by doing that?" That's when Robertson had his Christian conversion, if you will. That's what it was. It was like, okay, I will do the Christianity thing if it makes me rich and famous and powerful. That's exactly what he went for. He actually, when we're at Robertson's organization, he actually passed around to us when I was talking to him personally too, that anyone outside his circle is apart from God. Any even Protestant denomination is apart from God. He's the only one that's going to tell you about truth about Christ and what God wants us to do, and that anyone else is competition. Do you think that's forming a Christian body?
No.
Like the foot saying, cut everything off, we're the only thing that matters. That's definitely attaching from the vine of God. So that's what we're told. And that's what these people are supposed to embrace.
Wow. KM Sunshine 1974 said, wow, this message is amazing. Franklin Graham, part of this group?
Franklin Graham? You mean Billy Graham?
They were asking if Franklin Graham, and really, I'm sure people want to know about Billy Graham as well. Did you have any interactions with them? Are they part of the group?
Yeah, it was disheartening for me because what you do as a Christian, you look for people that might be good,
Yeah.
But the system is diseased. That's the word I got too. It's diseased. Like it'll be a haunt for jackals. Basically, what you have is to be part of their club, and they look at basically as a man's club, right? They go to these different conventions, and there's an agreement among the ranks, the hierarchy, that everyone will cover up what goes on and we'll all benefit together. It's like the corrupt police department back in the 1800s or early 1900s in New York City. She was so corrupt. So so there's an agreement among them at the top. That way they can cover themselves to make sure it's like Fight Club. Nobody ever's going to spill the beans, and they all profit together. And those profits are shared amongst themselves, including human flesh. Those of us that are selected to be part of the sex ring are passed around like toys. Go back to what happened to Jim Baker, who had that woman in his room, and what they said. Did you get her? We're nothing. Go back to Jerry Falwell with his pool boy. And the cover story his poor wife has to put out there. It was Jerry Falwell Jr. having sex. Let me tell you. That's what I know from the inside circle of the sex ring. So he was having sex with a pool boy. And to make it for the media, he goes, "Oh, I like to watch my wife having sex with it." Anybody in the chat, would you want to watch your wife having sex with somebody else? And no, it's a cover story. And so the pool boy is the one that's then given all the awards, and he remains silent until it's profitable for him to speak. Well, I was like that pool boy with Sova and then Robertson, but I spoke. I didn't take the rewards, and I was called. Guess what the name they called me within Robertson's circle then? Difficult. I was labeled.
Now, how long were you in the Robinson circle and all of that before you got out of there and they realized you weren't part of them?
2 years.
Okay. I bet it was the longest 2 years of your life.
It was the worst, most hellish, even from my childhood, the worst hellish years ever. I saw more women coming up to me. It was weird, I'll tell you, Michelle, because this is not bragging, because I don't believe in the locker room talk. All right. This is just to illustrate what goes on there at that organization. And so here I am, even when I'm being trounced down by these signatories waiting in the next room with the president meeting, they all signed a thing throwing me out and wrote a letter to Sova saying, "You're wrong for what you did. I was never supposed to see." I got that letter. I got the letter written the same date, October 21st, 1988, when Roberts was running for president. Same letter to me and Sova I was never supposed to have, where it says to me I was all wrong and I'm supposed to trust them as God's authority on earth for me. And the Sova letter says he was wrong for everything he did to me, but don't let anybody know. I have the letter. So I had women coming up to me, which shows you why I was being groomed to be the face of Christian Coalition. It affected even afterwards, saying, they were asking for help from me, saying how horrible it is there. And I was in no position to really help. I said, just get out of here. Their student manual actually has in capital letters, the only section in capital letters, Michelle, and those listening in, was about if an emergency happens on campus. Now, Let's say if you have a daughter, your daughter's bleeding badly. Who are you going to call? I don't mean Ghostbusters, but who are you going to call?
You can call the parents and
You're gonna
911.
Right, 911. Well, in capital letters in the manual for Robertson's organization, get ready. It says, do not call 911. Do not call outside services. You have to call CBN security only. So they can keep the lid on it.
That's right.
If my child's bleeding to death, I am not going to call some inept CBN security guy who's probably drinking anyway, and they've been in with prostitutes. I'm not going to call him.
Yeah, this is because it goes back to, you have to have all of the things in place to cover everything and keep everybody safe, because it's a whole system.
Now, exactly. Now, keep in mind this. I want to drop this little acorn that maybe will grow into a tree. But the thing is this. When Bush was in office.
Which Bush?
He launched, George Bush. George Bush.
Okay. 41.
Office, right, Junior?
43.
Robertson meets with them before that endless war starts behind closed doors at Robertson's organization. He okayed Bush to do the endless war. Robertson told me about the endless war plan, where it would then, the whole thing that was going to be like suspend rights. The president could then have total supreme powers, and then he could do the God thing where, he has the theocracy thing, which then he's in power. And that's, he gives it that. But the thing is that, yeah. So the top 100 of his law students from CBN University, Regent University now, and keep in mind, Regent University, why did they name it Regent University? To rule in place of God. Yeah, that's why they picked the name. To rule in place of God. That should send off alerts everywhere. That's Robertson's mentality. And so 100 of his law school students, including this blonde girl, end up being Bush's legal team under this Gonzalez that was corrupt as you can throw a wet rag. So that's what happened. Was Robertson was ruling through a proxy, George Bush Jr., and he started an endless war, which was totally his plan. The part that was missing was, which I was privy to, which I put in the ending of The Immortals. Keep in mind, again, Warner Brothers copyrighted the Immortals title, not Matrix. They said they're not claiming the Matrix title. They're claiming Immortals. It's in the Copyright Office. We have the proofs of this. I sent you a clip in the email. I'm putting the ending of what Robertson planned to make this one world theocracy happen. The final wool over the eyes of the Christian body, using the Christian body to be snowed, to fall in line for the Antichrist. And it is mind-blowing again. You can see why they want to shut me down verbally. They don't want to kill me right now because that would draw too much attention, because I've been too public, especially for Roseanne. Yeah. So how do you shut that person up? You try to get the other side to do what you want. But the actual plan Robertson had, and it was also in the Toronto Star also, they're now leaking it out, was to fake the second coming. And I kid you not. They're experimenting over Jerusalem on turning the skies red. They're experimenting with trumpet sounds in the sky. It's all in the Immortals. And what the plan was to have Robertson interview Christ returning with Hollywood doing special effects, that the Christian body believes it's real. And then we're supposed to give our faith all over to God. But why Regent University again? The Christ effect was going to announce that Robertson was going to rule in his place until he came back at a later time. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And that became the ending. But here's the fun part, if you can call it a fun part. Wachowski's on set, anybody can look this up. Wachowski's on set said that everyone said to blow up the Matrix because they lifted all the images they thought were cool out of this work. All 190 matchups lifted out of this work, including Jack's the neck, little girl at the train station, Squiddies, identical figures facing off at the end, giving glory to God. It's all in here. They lift it out into a 600-page storyboard, and they rip the story apart as they make it up on set as they go along. This in one hand, the visual storyboard in the other, right? They didn't write the screenplay until after they shot it, made it up. That's why there was a debate, Michelle, about how do we end it through everybody on set. They claim everybody, quote, everybody on set said to blow up the Matrix. Yeah, take it from the author. You should have at that point. You ruined the story. You took it out, the spine right out of it. It's not going to hold together. They thought it would tie together. In fact, Joel Silver, the producer, says on set, we hope when we watch the rushes that it'll tie together. We hope we used up the rest of the story. Do you want to just say you stole it, Joel? And then the Wachowskis stick in this exact ending right back here. This exact ending that's supposed to give glory to God, they stick in, but it doesn't make any sense. It's voted one of the worst 11 sequels of all time. But they've laid the groundwork. God in his wisdom has laid the groundwork for us to win, with Roseanne now making this copyrighted thing. We have the copyright, they don't. The story restores glory to God, unites the Jewish faith with the Christian faith, which we're doing, right? And it also explains to everybody what the Matrix actually was supposed to mean. And how they get the Matrix title. One more little Easter egg and I'll let you be. How do they get the Matrix title? Wachowskis take the letters of immortals, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many letters do you see for the title Matrix there? They're trying to be clever. M-A, what? T-R-I, what's missing? X.
An X.
An X. Who supplies the X? Elon Musk. That's the complete joke of trying to be clever, is Elon Musk was given the material. Now, I warn people about Elon Musk because Elon Musk took my job. I was to be the face of the Christian coalition and then be in a political office to mislead every one of you, especially women, to follow the plan for this one world theocracy, which would have been the Antichrist. Now Elon Musk has my job. Yeah. So you're supposed to think of him as your savior. And what they're going to do is disrupt presidential campaigns. They're going to make it look like we don't have any real safe candidates. Let's all turn to Elon Musk to save us, because he's the good man who has the pretty eyes. No, that was my role. And I said no. Elon Musk said yes. Give it to me. And here's the telltale sign. Whenever you see, if I'm walking in the public and someone calls to me to talk to me, I'll be like, oh, it's nice to meet you. What does Elon Musk do? Watch the clips of Elon Musk in the public. This is your clue. If Elon Musk is walking in the public and you see these clips of someone going to talk to him, he's like this. They're saying, Elon Musk, hey. He's not going to address you. And it's not because he's a celebrity, because he's part of the mentality that the elite have nothing to do with the common people. You'll be eliminated soon with a final solution. So we're not going to take the time to address you. It's like Platoon, where we don't talk to the new guys because we don't want to know your name, because you won't be around soon. That's Elon Musk's mentality behind the eyes. Talk about evil. And I'm calling yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how does Donald Trump then play into that? If, Donald Trump is talking about Elon Musk and he's going to be on this and do that. And so does Donald Trump know what in the world is going on here?
Put yourself in Donald Trump's shoes. Right now, he needs the votes, right? He needs the support. Here comes Elon Musk that has this major platform. It's all part of the strategy and tactics. And so you're guilty by association. A lot of your followers will be confused. Trump's followers will be confused. Why did you take, when we're starting to learn this man's not good, why are you taking the interview? The supporters, the campaign people who handle Trump's, campaign, the people in charge thought this would be a good thing. Trump sets the line and does it, but it wasn't a good thing because God's revealing Elon Musk. So it's a misstep. And I'll say it right there. It's a misstep. Even though Trump knows my story, Roseanne, spelling out, like she called me from the stage at the rally for Trump. She called me when she walked right off the stage and texted saying, I'm going to call you in the morning. She did. So Trump is part of the circle, but they're trying to mislead him. And that's been from the start. Guess who his personal attorney was? Jay Sekulow. Jay Sekulow was Trump's personal attorney, which Robertson put in place for a one world order, one world theocracy, and was Bush's guy. So Robertson, again, was trying to proxy through Trump, but Trump wasn't going to have that. Trump was polite to Robertson, took photo ops with him, but didn't do exactly what he wanted. And then Robertson turned the tables later. I think you'll see this on the air somewhere. You'll see where Robertson no longer endorsed Trump. So it was the mouse trying out with the cat out with the mouse. There's this game being played by the cabal, and it's played with me all the time, where offers are made all the time. And they use this phrase, Michelle, and it's chilling to me. Tom, just come home. Just come home. Plenty of time to come out of the woods. Just come home. They say the public doesn't understand you. They'll never get it. In fact, a lot of them shred you and tear you down. We know you wrote the story. We know on the inside here, Hollywood, cabal, FBI, we know you wrote the story. Just come home. You'll be a script doctor and don't associate with these others. They won't be around anyway. The final solution is talked about. And me and my son will be safe and go into that new world reset. I've been trying to warn people and I get mocked for it, Michelle. I'm trying to do the right thing. And then they say, well, you were groomed to be the face of the cabal. You must be bad. What other ways can I prove that and when Sophia Stewart tried that on me too, saying I was, now they're saying instead of I'm a footnote, they're saying I'm Satan himself. They're trying to accuse me of what Elon Musk has stepped into for the rewards. I don't have the rewards. Show me the money, right? I don't have the money that would have been mine. I don't have that beautiful wife standing beside me when she came up to me, first of all, when I was being groomed to be what Elon Musk is, right? And she used to be a mouthpiece for them too. She'd be saying, if I had taken their way like Elon Musk did, you'd hear this beautiful woman beside my side saying, Tom's just amazing. He's just this incredible guy. He's done everything for the world, when I'm the most evil person on the planet.
Now, why does Elon Musk, though, continue to look different? A lot of people talk about how different he looks.
Plastic surgery and also the anti-aging program has been instituted. IBM and Stanford, exactly. Why is this called the Immortals? I'm glad you asked the question. Why is this called the Immortals? Because in our time, they perfected the Immortal program. Yeah, the program. I call it the program. And they didn't want that out. In our program, what you have is Stanford, IBM have perfected anti-aging, right? The red pill. And keep in mind, the red pill is the bad pill, the blue pill is the good pill. They reversed it. Now everybody says the red pill. The red pill is based on the blood of the children, growth hormones to create this Immortal program. The blue pill is given later by Underground. So the Neo, Thomas A., they named it after me, can re-enter the program and take him on again after he's cut from the program by the architect. It's not the red pill's good. Everybody says the red pilled. It is the blood of the children. So they're making us agree with them every time we say we're red pilled. Isn't that fascinating? They inverted it when they stole it. It's the blue pill. The blue pill is the author's eye. Whispering through art was my intention, what God gave me to whisper, so we don't fall in this trap of the neural link, which will be the mark of the beast. It is. You won't even be able to worship God with the enhancer. It'll block your ability to have faith. Believe it or not, your mind is like a computer, and it will block your ability. It'll have parameters that'll be for your benefit, your welfare. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
Talk about the mark of the beast.
So wow, that's a lot to take about the red pill and the blue pill.
Yeah, it's reversed. And in fact, in the movie, they have this because they're mixing in what they're familiar with. Think of it this way. If you're making up it as you go along with the original screenplay in hand and the storyboard with all the lifted images you thought were cool from this, it's going to be disjointed, isn't it? It's not going to tie together, is it? Right? And so that's why they have a 20-foot rule. If you're within 20 feet, you see this. 20 feet's just enough, but you can't read the title. 20-foot rule, you're within 20 feet, Michelle, you just got fired. 20-foot rule on set. Isn't that crazy? They left so many breadcrumbs, steak crumbs, basically. And so what happens is this is on set, and they're making up as they go along, right? They keep the same ending, and they don't know how to end it. But it's just like, yeah. Anyway, give me your question again, because I get layered thinking. I'm like,
it is so much.
A good question leads to more questions. But go ahead.
I know it is so much.
And you've got good questions. So I never.
What'd you say?
Or I got in different directions on that.
Oh, you're good.
Go ahead. I don't want to.
Okay, no, you're doing amazing. So I mean, I'm just like, that kind of blew my mind. I had heard that before about him being switched, but it's been over a year since I heard you explain that. And it just really hit me hard. So that's a lot for people to take in that does not know that yet. I want to go back to Elon Musk because, you know, the thing about him is it always seems like it's just such a big question mark. I know that I read some Jesse Zabodar stuff about how she, and I don't know if I'm saying her last name correctly, but she talked about growing up with Elon. And so it's like, you know, he was supposed to be part of the whole one world order, new world order kind of thing. And everybody's going to be, you know, under the system and all that kind of stuff. And so it's always made me suspicious about him. And you don't hear him talking about Jesus. You don't hear him talking about his faith in any kind of way either. So that makes me suspicious. And so, you know, now that Trump is involved, so I want to go back to that because I want to make sure that people aren't taking this and getting upset or discouraged. Sure. You know, I think that one of the things that people want to believe is that everything's handled and people are going to march in and they're going to, you know, the military is going to save the day. And the fact of the matter is, I think what people need to remember is that this is a very fluid time, a very fluid war. And that just because Trump is saying something doesn't necessarily mean that that's really what Elon is going to do and that he is making a deal with Elon. We're not saying that. And I don't want anybody to walk away going, oh my gosh, because this is great information. for everybody to hear and take in. And we're going to cover a couple of other really important things as well. But for everybody to kind of understand some strategies of the cabal and what is going on when it does come to good people that are working good. And so one question I have for you, though, and I know my audience has got to be wondering. So we're not saying that Donald Trump has sold out and made a deal with the devil, because he could be saying all kinds of things. Yeah, when I become president, well, let's see it come to fruition first, right?
Right, absolutely. Listen to it this way. If I had an offer to go on Elon, which he'll never do this. He like takes me on all the time. Believe it or not, there's all kinds of memes being thrown around. He doesn't like me. And I can't even get on my own Twitter account. But say he's somebody like him wanted me on the air. If I go on the air with him, I can reach a larger demographic with the words that I believe God would put through to me, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, by association, it seems like I'm giving him a stamp of approval. So it's a sticky area. And that's what we learn is everything's gray. It's not black and white. It's very, very gray. And also it's important for people to capsulize this idea that this is a war over influence. It really comes down to who will have influence. So if you're an award-winning writer and you have this, they hate when I hold this up, so I'm gonna do it all the time. When you have this, right, which Sophia Stewart calls a forgery, yeah, right. Good luck with that. All the information on it. It's like what you have here is this document that can't be disputed, and that means I have influence. How many people would show up to hear the actual writer of the Matrix, right, if he has the total proof and they didn't throw his case in court, which is what they did. They supplied their own attorneys who were unlicensed to throw it. It was incredible, which is a second theft, which will be addressed later. And that's what we're going to be doing is wait till you see the film as it's supposed to be. But it's about influence. We need to understand that. Influence,
makes sense.
Right.
Well, that goes back to success and power. People always say, oh, it's all about money. No, money is a byproduct of success and power. It's that power. If you got power, you'll have money.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Why was Trump invited on Elon Musk's platform at that particular time? The reason is it's not all about me. I'm not trying to make it that way. It's about God. It's about Christ. It's about message out. That's what and if it ever became about me, I'm in trouble. That was made clear at that very first moment when I asked that question to God when I was going to go to grad school. And he made it very clear to me that if the eyes were on me, that I'd be gone. I'd be done in. I would not make it. I'd be cut from God. I would not be right. I'm not supposed to take the glory away from God. I'm supposed to point glory to God. And that was one of the main things was there. And that's the difference between me and Elon Musk too, right? So that's very, very important. But anyway,
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what I was going to say to you. I'm sorry. I wanted to let you know. The reason they timed it for Trump to appear on Elon Musk is because I was Roseanne was explaining to me how his group, like I said, home all knew our story. We might be meeting. And so they quickly sent him to Elon Musk. The same thing happened recently with the FBI agent I told you about, right? The FBI, lifelong FBI operative, right?
Yes.
Let me show you something what just happened with him. Okay, right here. This is very important. So what did he do just like Elon Musk did? He did this on Elon Musk's platform. This was just done yesterday. Now, let me explain what's going on here. It was just sent to me by a congressional candidate. There's Brian Fitzpatrick, the lifelong FBI operative as a congressman, who explains that he's allowed to be in office as a congressman because he didn't campaign on the clock when he's an FBI operative. Does that make any sense? You didn't. So you're a lifelong FBI operative. You're admitting you're FBI, but you're in Congress because you didn't campaign while you're lifelong FBI operative while you're on the clock for the FBI. So therefore, it still seems like a conflict of interest. Well, anyway, so what happens is this guy right here is posing with Brooke Shields. My interview with Roseanne Barr was the 12th. So he gets up, gets going really quick, and gives Brooke Shields a hug, and is dealing with what did Roseanne and I talk about? Making the film, right? Getting the film out there, which is going to involve different actors, and doing this play, which is needs equity approval. So he's hugging, gets a photo op immediately with Brooke Shields, president of the Actors Equity Association, so he can control the outcome of this. He's dancing, reacting like a knee jerk every which way. Now, he looked a lot younger. I was told by this congressional candidate that he had dark hair and was looking okay just moments ago. but now he looks like that. I'm turning him gray, they said, which means we're winning. God is winning. We are driving them nuts. And when they react like that, like this, like, Elon invites Trump on because Trump's going to talk to Tom. Okay, so Fitzpatrick gets with Brooke Shields with equity because all of a sudden he's interested in performers, giving them a tax break because he wants to have influence with performers, because we're going to be having performers and doing our play and also making the movie. So they're just like dancing like rats now, running each way. Now, with your program on right now, there will be a reaction also. Fitzpatrick, Elon Musk, since we talked about them, you may see something in the news, and I want people watching to note this. You'll see something in the news coming up, maybe a meme on Twitter by Elon, or you'll see something by Joel Silver, since we talked about Joel Silver. They react constantly. The cabal's not that smart. They don't have the brightest and the best, because the brightest and the best have creativity, because they are trusting God with compassion. Mm-hmm. And that's something I was given, was you have to have compassion. If you don't have compassion, like my sister lost it joining Fitzpatrick, the FBI guy, then you no longer, if you're about power and success, you've lost compassion in that. The agencies say you put your feelings in the freezer as a caveat for joining them. You just aren't going to be the brightest tool in the shed anymore. You need compassion to be vibrant. You need compassion to be viable, to be charismatic, to be someone who's actually going to be creating great stuff. If you take compassion out of your work, and I told Disney execs this when they called me, they said, it's all about power, Tom. It's just about power. I said, what about compassion with power? I said, absolute power can corrupt, absolutely, but absolute power with compassion, not the same outcome.
Well, when you talk about, it's all about, who can influence the people, right? Is it the people, meaning the common people? You said that they talk about the elite, and then they refer to all of us as common people. Yeah. Is that what they're talking about? Does it matter?
Right. The rest of us that are not going to be included in the reset. Go back to that longevity program that I was worrying about, that God had me write about, right? That he put it through me. That longevity program has influenced the entire world now. What you have in the longevity program is, if the elite and their families are forming a one world order because they're being offered the longevity program, you no longer need the masses anymore. In fact, how do you have a sustainable planet if people are now living past their allotted lifespans? Now you don't need the people anymore. You only need those that will be a servitude class. Eliminate the rest with a final solution. That's what we're heading towards. That dark. It's that dark. Now, somebody put I just saw it in the chat about Sophia Stewart. If you want to address that, I will address that.
Yeah. So it says just joined in. So what's the deal with Sophia Stewart? I thought she wrote The Matrix.
No. Sophia Stewart contacted me many times. She was my handler when they brought this forward. They actually wanted me to know my work was stolen at the statute of limitations in 1990. It was made in 1999. So I was contacted in 2009. Sophia Stewart contacts me. And she says, you can't claim Matrix 1. You're the missing link. You're with me. You're the missing link. We'll do 2. You claim 2 and 3. I'll claim 1. Well, that's how you can throw the case. I didn't know that. I didn't know who she was. Suddenly, she's giving me all these contacts, doing shows with me and everything else, because she's supposed to handle me. In fact, there was a deal made by Kate Chilton of Warner Brothers, insider at Warner Brothers, had a letter sent to Sophia Stewart, and I have that letter now, or components of it, where it said she'd be paid $5 to $7 million after she lost her claim in 2005. In 2009, when she's assigned to me, she's offered $5 to $7 million if she'll handle Tom Malthouse, the original writer. Sophia Stewart was brought in-house by Warner Brothers as a failed writer out of the projects of Manhattan, where she put curses on people, to be in first claimant. Now get this. To be a first claimant would mean that the poor schmuck, as they call me, wouldn't have a claim because people would only listen to what they heard first. Sophia Stewart has 33 pages. Fact check me. 33 pages that she calls her manuscript. I have 128 here. Each page in Hollywood, for those that don't understand the Hollywood system, each page translates to a minute of film time. Stay with me.
Yep.
128 minutes of film. Sound like a film? 128 minutes?
Yes.
Now take 33 pages. How many minutes?
33.
33. Does 33 minutes make a film?
No.
She doesn't even have a screenplay. And that's not all. Has nothing to do with Terminator or Matrix. It's if you want to plagiarize something, so blatantly in our world, you can't do better than Sophia Stewart. In 33 pages, she takes the Bible and Star Wars and mixes it together. If anybody wants to waste their money on her book, and I'm going to say this vehemently and clearly, because I don't want people to suffer misdirection. If you buy her book, it's going to have just her own, she's a paralegal, just her little court documents, making it look like she had all this court action. and then the 33 pages, and you won't see anything about the Matrix or the Immortals. It was a tactic where they brought in a D player. They bring in failed people. They call them D players, and they call the rest of us A team, A list, A players, right? And they still value us. They still list us that way. Even if you're on the outside, even if you're cut from the program, you're still an A player in their terminology, and they're referring to you. So I'm still an A player, A team, A list in Hollywood. But Sophia Stewart's a D player. Wachowskis failed at everything they did. Their mom said that they failed at everything they did. The ones that claimed they wrote The Matrix. And get this, if she won in court, why was Matrix 4 and 5 made without her? She's quite bombastic in her verbalization and her cursing. She would not be quiet if she had the rights to the film franchise and they made it without her. You betcha that not concrete blocks with elephants sitting on it wouldn't keep her down. She'd be out there cursing away, just like the Wachowskis. Now, keep in mind this. They announced Matrix 5. Get this, Michelle. They announced Matrix 5, and Larry Wachowski's not a writer on it. Andy Wachowski's not a writer on it. Sophia Stewart's not involved in any way in it. So we're calling her bluff. What she did was she had a student write an article where she won her case. She didn't win her case. In fact, her number 2 explained how she did not win her case. Warner Brothers wanted her to save face because she was brought in-house to defeat the true author who holds the copyright, and proven right there from the 1998 version right here using the 1999. So they don't have a leg to stand on except supplying Sophia Stewart to handle me, supplying an attorney with a suspended license to make sure my case was thrown. So when you look my name up, it'll just say he lost his case. And that's supposed to be the end of the story. There's a lot to this story. And the second theft is the case and just how fraudulent it was. We've got their attorneys on tape, Michelle, saying it's a moot point to ask for any discovery, which is required in due process, unless it's fraud in the court, because we don't have any working drafts. We have it on tape. If you have no working drafts, you didn't write The Matrix. And that means if you're using that as an excuse not to give us discovery, you just have fraud in the court, and there's no statute of limitations. We'll be back in court after Roseanne and us make the actual film. You'll see all the matchups, and God will get the glory for the work, and God is smart. Man and Sophia Stewart's did not outwit God.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions about that. We've got a viewer that says, my daughter is a film student. This is an eye-opener. Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell us about the brothers, the Wachowski brothers. What's the deal with them? Like one of them is going through some kind of a gender change? And I want you to go back and I want you to explain some of this.
All right. Well, first of all, this is great, Michelle. You're a doll. So here we go. Ready? What we have here is a situation of punitive actions by the cabal. What's the number one rule in the cabal? They actually pose it like Fight Club. They have a joke about Fight Club. What's the rule in Fight Club? Anybody? You don't talk about.
I don't know. I didn't see.
Right? You don't talk about.
Okay, yeah.
You don't leave a trail. It's okay, Michelle. You didn't miss much. Okay. So it's like, Michelle, you didn't watch the movie about people beating themselves up. Michelle, shame on you. It's like,
it was too brutal for me.
I'm with you. That's a good answer, right? I agree. I shouldn't have posed it your way. Anyway, I should have been. What's the movie about flower picking? It would be better. Anyway, so what you have is there's this rule in the cabal: do not leave a trail. Do not leave a trail of the cabal members. Remember the question about the televangelists? Who's guilty, who's not? They're all in agreement that no one will share, like the Fight Club rule. No one talks about Fight Club. No one share, and then everyone's protected and profits. All right. What did the Wachowskis do? What did the Wachowskis do? They were so mad over a film called Assassins. Please, anybody who's got the researching bug, vet this, look it up. Look up what I'm talking about. Assassins was the project that Wachowskis were brought in to do that they failed as writers on, that another writer had to be brought in by the very producer who wined and dined them and said they'd have beautiful starlets as some kind of trade commodity and riches and fame. They failed as writers on that project, cited specifically for taking out the central empathetic character audiences need. Even though Cabal's not empathetic, they know audiences want that.
Yeah.
Love story and put too much violence in. What'd they do with my screenplay? They took out the central sympathetic character, named it Thomas A., my name. They added tons of violence. I don't think it will have any argument there from anybody. And they took out the love story. Neo and Trinity really just basically have sex in a cavern. That's about it. They're not connecting on any super level. In fact, they put in something so stupid where she's all upset and angry because the one Matavenchi or whatever woman is saying, if I get a true kiss, it's so stupid. What they did to my work or God's work. Neo kisses me with full feeling, then I'll help you. And then Trinity's going like, it's the dumbest, most juvenile scene ever to put into my work, a God's work. That's their brain. No wonder they failed at everything. Their mom said all they did was play video games. Flunked out of school, did a painting contract and everything else. Now, here's what they did wrong. Since another writer was brought in to finish Assassins, they threw a fit. They wanted all the way out and went right to Writers Guild, right? They went west. They wanted out of Warner Brothers, their name off it. Writers Guild said, no, you're under contract. You can't get out. So Joel Silver steps in to save the day, who claims to be the producer of The Matrix. So Joel Silver steps in to save the day and says, I'll give you the science project. All right. Now follow this trail. They got so many holes in their story. We'll give you the science project to save your career. Larry says, yes, he really wants a science project. He does an article later. It can be seen by anybody. At Lost, they call it the Lost Article because they removed it from the airwaves. And I have it. They call it the Lost Article before it was even struck. And in it, he says, he's asked, okay, what's next for you? And he answers in the transcript of this Lost Article. I love it. They're so stupid. It says, Plastic Man and Carnivore. They're still peddling this, by the way. Plastic Man and Carnivore. What's Plastic Man and Carnivore? Their original work. It's Plastic Man's about a guy who sits on the toilet and defecates radioactive material. Well, that's one I want. Sell me the tickets now. And then the other one is a person who eats rich people. Can't wait. It's going to be better than Star Wars and the Bible. Sophia Stewart. Anyway, so what you have is this whole thing where they then add on. It says in the transcript of this article, pause. It says pause in parentheses. We're hoping to be given the science project. Could you be more stupid if you tried? I'm sorry for all the elementary school children out there that know stupid's a bad word. I apologize. But could you be that brainless to announce in an article on the air that you're hoping to be given work, the science project?
Yeah, not good.
Not good, yeah? And then, in fact, they also added, we're hoping to do Jackson Neck for real. Jackson Neck is all through this, right? 1980 version. So their attorneys try to say it's not, it is. So that's what's so wild is, what were they in trouble for? Let's get to it. Sorry to be long-winded about it, but
no, you're good.
Okay.
So they were in trouble with the cabal. I want to make sure my viewers are following along.
So you were studios for this right here. Now it looks like a green mess, right? I sent you the graphic. Ron, you guys have this actual graphic, right?
Yeah, it's upside down.
Yeah, that's how it is in the film. See the page? Yeah, you're right. But see the page turning up here on the side here? It's turning. That's the clearest graphic. That's the clearest shot you can get of it. And that's during VHS time in 1999. This is the first graphic made, the first scene shot, the interrogation scene in The Matrix. And you see this thing that looks so like this flash by. And I actually have the scene. I can play it for you. But on this, let's invert it. Keep in mind their graphic design. What did they do wrong? Their graphic designer said that anything in for a split second is for the director's eyes only to keep the project interesting. Susanna Bolgen said that in an article. Take that with this. Split second upside down must be something really you want to hide, right? So what's on this sheet? You have, right over here, sorry. Thomas
Database
A,
record.
My name, Thomas A. My fiance's birthday, who was at the pitch station with me, was March 11th, Otika Ball. You've got my dad's name, John. You have my high school, Central West. High school birthday and my birthday above, which was as in records at the time, USA Insurance said it was July 22nd. My birthday, my name, my fiance's birthday, my high school, my dad's name. And in the column, it says what? Wait. TA 4099. Tom Althouse was 40 in 99. Larry had a penchant for putting my ages out because he thought that would make that I wouldn't want that. During the pitch session with Bonaventura, executive from Warner Brothers, who says he still discovered and shepherded the major story, he'd asked me my age, and I said, well, I won't give it right now because I'm told by directors and coaches not to give it out, so I can be seen as an age range for the business, an age range. If you pinpoint an age, then you're seeing that age and you limit your roles. So I gave him that answer. So Larry ate it up. Now,
Yeah,
what's 380 mean? Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who was an actress, and she would never tell anybody her age because of that. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's true.
So Larry wants to let it out of the bag, doesn't he? He wants to do everything he can to hurt the writer. So he does that. Isn't that crazy? So you know where it's coming from. Now, 380 in numerology. See, they claim they're in numerology, right? And get this, I was listening, right? They handed out books on philosophy that was required reading for the actors, but they had never read them. They just wanted to seem important and intelligent. And one of the authors actually has come back and said, that's not what I intended at all. And their interpretation they gave. It's unbelievable, Michelle. And so 380 in numerology, which it means basically this, and it's a mocking of Christianity. I'll explain how. So you got everything from what? Birthdays, dad's name, high school, my name. Can you get better? And now TA4. See what's going on here? This is why they're punished. Even though it's in for a split second, their argument was he'll never see it. He's the only one that recognizes material. So what happens? A guy from the story department calls me and tells me exactly what's there and where to look because he can't stand the Wachowskis. Can't stand they're getting away with it. Isn't that something?
They got in trouble.
Oh, did they? And
okay, so what happened?
They're still guys. I have Larry's dating page. Even though he's married, he's dating. He's outside Christ, so okay. So he's dating, and he lists himself on his dating page as a straight male. They haven't been changed at all. They're supposed to mislead the public so youth get changed. They're the poster boys for it. That's their punishment. And Andy had to do it later. And Andy was so upset that he was asked during, he just like, if you're a woman, are you going to go into a public sphere and interview without makeup on? Without any, just a sack dress, black sack dress, no adornment? No, right? Yeah. Right. So if these guys that are dudes are actually wanting to be women and that's their passion to be a woman, that they're going to have surgery supposedly to be that, do you think they want to go all out? Like if you ever saw Eddie Izzard, he's a fantastic comedian and he jokes about being an executive trans fight, but he's a great comedic talent. And he says that he's even like trans fight men will do it even more meticulously than women because they're going to put it on really well. We're going to make sure we get it right. Yes. Well, then if Larry and Andy on that train of thought, right, not advocating either way on that, but it's like on that train of thought, do you think Andy and Larry would try to do it right? Especially when they be on the public for it, right? And be the poster boy. So what does Andy do? Andy slaps on a black sack dress, no adornment, nothing, and just a wig on. And it's like this.
Oh my goodness.
Guy, right? And he's asked on the air, you must be happy now that you're a woman. And he goes like, no, not really. It's like there's like 3 brain cells functioning. I'm sorry. And people say you shouldn't be mean to them, Tom. You shouldn't be mean. They are responsible for the death of my children. They took everything I have. They're doing antichrist behavior by stealing the work that was given for the glory of God. I think I have permission to say some sarcasm. Yeah. But but that's what they're running for. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So let's go through a couple of other things I want to make sure that we go through. So I had heard that Tom Hanks was your handler. Was that just in Hollywood or what was the deal with that? What was he assigned to handle you for?
That's a great question. Ellen Geer told me about it. Now, Ellen Geer is a great person. She's Grandpa Walton's, Will Geer's daughter, right? And she took me on at the outside the LA basin. People there, indigenous would know. It's like there's Topanga Canyon and Will Geer Theatricum and Botanicum, which is like a Shakespeare garden, beautiful place with white cliffs there and everything. So she took me in 96, and I resubmitted from her organization. And she had me do the lead of Demetrius and Midsummer Dream. They do it annually. And it was a big hit, got Chris pick, all that kind of stuff. And she read my screenplay. I was resubmitting to Warner Bros. At the time in 96. And so she was proof of that. And she told me, like, it's really rough out here. The guy's really bad, but I'm going to have Tom Hanks and Ron Howard be your mentor. They'll be your mentors here. She said, you have star quality. We're going to launch your career and they'll be your mentors. Now, what's interesting is I don't think Ellen knew what was going on because that was being dictated apparently to her, if I'm understanding right, because Tom Hanks by association was then going to be set up to claim, get this. They have to find a way to take this work from me, right? And claim I stole it. They always do that. They reverse the blame. And so what do? They have Tom Hanks on the Immortals title but they blow it. They list. I gave you the materials. Ron's got this right now. I wish we could put it up, but it's like, you'll see this, where Tom Hanks is listed at the Copyright Office as ordered and commissioned by Warner Brothers and HBO to write The Immortals, and given a certificate of authorship that's 2 to 3 pages long. No script. What was happening is they were going to do this, Michelle. This is so wild how far they go, right? Like Fitzpatrick hugging the Brooke Shields,
Yeah.
Brooke Shields, and Trump being called into Trump with Elon Musk interview. So this is how far they go. So Tom Hanks was going to claim that I took the work from him, that I stole the work from him because I was working with him and wanted to rise higher than him, and it was Tom Hanks that wrote The Immortals. Nice try, guys.
Yeah.
Nice try.
What about Tom Hanks and Ron Howard? It always seems like they're close. Why are they close? What's the relationship there?
They're in the pool of nice guy boy face people. We are the ones you go to if you want to mislead the women in the world. And it was just sounds so shallow thinking by a man anyway. A man had to come up with that idea. It's like, we're going to mislead the women of the world, discount all their intellectual capabilities, and say the pretty eyes and everything else at the time that go 3 decades back, right, is going to work. It's going to work. There'll be snow. They won't be able to say no. So Tom Hanks is in that category with me. Ron Howard's in that category with me. We are the boyish wonders. We're the ones that women are supposed to go, "Aw, they're so sweet." And I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying that's what their plan was.
Yeah, looks believable. How many handlers did you have? Bossman 12 is asking.
God, that's a great question.
I mean, do you even know? Is it even capable of?
I can't even count, because it's a great question. Well done, because it's like there's a gray area there too. Well, I haven't even discovered all that we're players. They'll come in and weave out, and they always pull the rug. It's such a great question. They pull the rug and they drop the bombs on you, usually publicly at a certain time where you've been trusting them. Yeah. And why do they do it? Free discovery. They have access. They're like, show us what you got. I'm all blown away. I'm such a fan. They get all your materials that way, right? And the other side is free discovery, to know what you have, what you're planning. They discuss plans with you, can steer you a different way. They also have this thing where they can change the way you appear, who you appear with. It's amazing what they can do by supplanting, by coming in and infiltrating, And then they can also get rid of your other circles. Don't trust Michelle. Michelle's bad. She's behind your back saying these things. Really? Yeah, you don't trust her. Okay, I won't go on her program again. Thanks, guys. Yeah. You don't know who to trust, and they do all that. That's interesting. Of course.
Okay, so when we were talking prior to the show for a few minutes, I wanted to make sure that we got to this with for our audience. So I got to talking about, you brought up Harvey Weinstein, and I said, well, what about Michael Jackson? And I likened it to two polar opposites in their situation. So we have Harvey Weinstein. And so let's talk about this. You actually brought that up because I had asked you about what's called the All Access Pass. So let's talk about that first, and then how it leads into Harvey Weinstein and all that.
Well, here's the wild thing. The All Access Pass, Robertson made sure I had that, but it was done through John Walsh. So, and how does that tie together? When I'm at Robertson's organization, I was tapped to be the lead in America's Most Wanted, when its #1 show in 1988. And at that time, Robert D. Witt was caught for Naval Credit Union robbery, theft, and broke out of the Portsmouth jail. I'm fast-tracked into that role, and it's a great role for a performer, right? I mean, that's national TV, and it's like #1 show. So at the dinner, FBI heads and Walsh gave me a card. It's your get out of jail card free, basically, or your all access pass. It's real. And what they do is they put on it for law enforcement to excuse you from any crime, basically, right? It's to be that you're carte blanche free. And keep in mind that Brian Fitzpatrick, that guy I said, anybody joining new, look up Brian Fitzpatrick. He's a lifelong FBI operative from Wilshire Boulevard in Hollywood, California, posing as a Pennsylvania congressman, and is the one that disrupted Ukraine. A whole another story in itself for another show, which needs to be expressed, just how far they went. And I can tie it all out there for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm given the card, and that's what it is you're given the card by the FBI top guys, and it says the sheriff's department is saying endorsing you, your name. Please, and here's the verbiage. Please extend every courtesy to your name. And it works. It works. And I can give you a story how it works if you want.
Give it. Yes.
Okay, so I'm rushing off to I'm being groomed by the Rockefellers. The cabal is a many-faceted beast, right? And so they pass you around like a university with different colleges. Like you go to this department, then you're passed to this department that was taken. So I'm passed from religious right to FBI to the Rockefellers at Colonial Williamsburg, which is Camp Perry right there. And so sometimes multiple ones are interested. You like Disney and Rockefeller at the same time. That's how I did it.
Do you know that? Do you know that at the time?
Now, I didn't know what was going on. I just thought I had good fortune my way, where I'm just being asked to do everything at the top and told I'm going to be a VP and director. I just thought it was like, and they're saying that, and they actually have women executive coming to you saying the thing to bolster the other thing, going like, I can never say no to you because of your eyes. They tell you that.
Okay.
We live in a very dulled down world.
All right. So you got the pass.
Elementary children, it's STUPID.
Okay. So you get the card and you're thinking, okay, how is the Rockefellers? How is their whole thing going? How are they going to groom you? And what are they trying to groom you for?
Oh, wow. I was going to be the director, which is above vice presidents, just under the president of that huge organization, Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. So it was like, you can talk that is where senators and congressmen have their retreats. That's where we had the top G5, whatever the top world leaders came. That is where Clintons go, where Robertson goes. That is the hub. If you want to know one of the big hubs of the cabal, it's Colonial Williamsburg and the Williamsburg Inn, specifically the Williamsburg Inn. So it's good to know these things because it's connected right to Camp Perry. The same exits Camp Perry on the Rockefellers Colonial Williamsburg Inn. That's
okay.
In fact, the lady that was running it at the time was the docent for it. That was my boss that recruited me. Was named as Joni Stevens. And she was best friends with Hillary Clinton and worked at the White House and was part of that ushering kids into the Clinton.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's go back to the Harvey Weinstein. Okay, so Harvey.
You want how the card works, though?
Yes, tell us.
Yeah, I promised you, so that's why.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Get this, are ready? Anybody put yourself in the shoes of this one. I'm late for a big audition. I'm being favored right now and groomed, so I've got a big audition. So I'm rushing out. This is going to be very lucrative. I get in the car and I just take off. And I had this idea of like, I learned how to drive the car with using my knees on the steering wheel because I'm going like this, getting ready for the audition. And I'm driving with my knees, and I'm really good at it. Really good at it. I know it's stupid. I'm sorry. I know it's STUPID, but I just I got good at it. So anyway, what happens is right out the gate, right out of my front driveway, I get onto my access road. Turn onto the main road, ready to roll. I'm racing. Yeah, there's a police car. Okay, the guy comes up really angry. Now I'm thinking about elementary children, not to use the wrong language. Really, really angry. And he's like, you know what you just did? I'm like, yes, officer, you're absolutely right. I went right to nice guy Tom. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I know. He's like, you just cut me off, first of all. You went through a stop sign. You didn't even signal. And where's your license? I don't have it with me. I left it in the house. Okay, your car's not even up to date registered. I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. He's like, do you know how many offenses this is? And he's pissed. He's like, wait here. And I'm like, so I hold the card out, whatever, and he's like, wait here. He goes back to his car. He comes back, Michelle, and goes like this. He reaches in the window and he goes like this. He's like, well, just don't do it again. Take care now. Just don't do it again. He went from super angry to like, oh, I got a celebrity with me. It was like, the card works. The card works. So
makes me think about the stories that I've heard about the Freemasons, where when they get pulled over, they hand over their license and all of that with a $20 bill. And they got now they have the license plates even in certain states where you can get the Masonic license plates. So they probably don't even get pulled over.
No touch rule. The no touch rule. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Also interesting about what you were talking about earlier, where she had 33 pages. So
yes. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would somebody please, and whoever's listening in, look up her manuscript and see what's there, or go on the air. There's one that says, debunking her and showing it and walks through it. Somebody actually go read it and let others know what you find.
Mhm.
Be a help.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Harvey Weinstein. I want to make sure we have enough time. We have to be done in about 20 minutes. Okay. So my next thing is, let's talk about Harvey Weinstein. So with the whole thing that we were talking about with him is that backroom deals get made. So explain this, and then we're going to explain the Michael Jackson.
Okay. So I was just looking at a comment down there. It just caught my attention. I didn't mean to zone you out, but there was a comment down there. I'm like, that is such a great question. And I wasn't paying attention in school for a moment.
Okay.
It's
okay. We'll get to the comments.
Sorry about that. Ask the question again, because somebody in Southern Georgia just blew me away. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great question. Okay. So Harvey Weinstein, backroom deals, and then we're going to get to Michael Jackson, viewer comments and questions after.
Sure.
So, okay, Harvey Weinstein.
So we knew this right away. Harvey Weinstein, first of all, there's a lot to this, but I'll try to capsulize and nutshell this. Why Harvey Weinstein was brought forward was because I was testifying in Canada, believe it or not, among one of the members, about what Mike Lang had done in our story. Mike Lang is Harvey Weinstein's boss at Miramax Films at the time. Now follow this. Knee-jerk reaction, we talked about how they move right away, right? So what happens? I'm giving testimony about how Mike Lang get a lot of salt right now, and take it. Mike Lang supplied my honeypot wife. And then we have the emails of him taking her back after my case is thrown. It wasn't just Sophia Stewart assigned. It was a woman who was a prostitute, ex-con from Modesto, California, that was brought in to ask me to marry her. And my last surviving son is a product of that marriage. She doesn't want to do it with him because he was a product of a job. And so Mike Lang sends her emails on my birthday to have impact. And my son loses his biological mom. He takes her back on the birthday. And these emails, they tried to erase them from my computer. We had them on external storage, and we still have them. So that's why what happened to Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein needs to take the draw of the attention off of Mike Lang. In fact, what they said was Mike Lang resigned from Miramax Films. Harvey Weinstein was to take over. But no one uses Mike Lang's name in the press at the time. They say Harvey Weinstein's boss, blah, blah, blah. They don't name Mike Lang. Is that good reporting? Is that correspondent work?
No.
We go like, we're not going to name the guy? Yeah. So they say, so Harvey Weinstein's supposed to take the fall and take pressure off of Mike Lang, see? As if they're dealing with what I'm talking about, the sexual rings and what's going on with the women and everything in Hollywood. So that's why that happened. Now, we knew what would happen, too, was there's a backroom, they call it a backroom deal, where Harvey was assured that he'd get off in the end, and there'll be some chunk of change for this. He'll be rewarded for it and get some attention too. And you'll be let off at the end, basically, was the deal. Now, how it transpires in the end, we'll see. But the thing is that he was supposed to let off after enough time passes. They have this phrase they use a lot, and he applied it to me too, that, oh, that's an old story. That's old news. So they do this harm to you, keep doing harm to you, run the clock out doing harm to you, and then their excuses later, but that was long ago.
Yeah, get over that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you have all that. Now, do you think he's really still in prison?
I don't think so. I can't imagine that. I don't think he would take that. He's too much he could spill. I think he'd be hanging off a coat like a doorknob by now. If he was going to leak something. So yeah, that's part of the thing too. No one, they will take you out on the inside if you're a loose end or a loose cannon. And again, it goes back to what they tell, why is Tom still alive? Well, I hope I explained that well. But it's like, what they do is they say, if we make you, we can break you. So whenever somebody takes an offer on the inside, like my sister did, and my brother and cousins, they bought them all. And they brag about their rewards. You are putting an axe over your family's head, because they say this over and over, even in their films, they echo this. If we make you, we can break you. And a lot of these people want more and more rewards. And here's a clue too, for the people that do this. They will pretend they're your best friend right before they take you out. They make you very comfortable, like the lamb with a knife not being seen. That's what they talk about. They're going to make you feel very much at ease, like you're going to get another reward any moment. You're going to be bragging about it, and boom, gone. That's how they operate, and they pride themselves on it. In fact, one of the guys on Maui, Lauren Holmberg, an operative on Maui, brought me into the Masons. He recruited me into the Masons, saying, you're an actor, award-winning actor. You'll love it here. All you do is give speeches, and you'll learn stuff, and we have to sit around and have fellowship. He didn't tell me about the dark side, right?
Yeah, you never do.
What happened to Trump with Elon Musk? What happened to Tom with the Masons? Guilty by association, right? They don't tell you this stuff. We don't know, And so what happens is, he tells me this first thing. We're fans of your work. Lauren's telling me this. This artist is telling me, CIA operative. We're really fans of your work. We're blown away by your story. But just don't try to make a difference with anybody. You're one of the elite now, but just don't try to make a difference for the common people. And they use the word elite, right? Then he says this to me, and it's fascinating to illustrate what I'm talking about. This is the tie-in. He says, Tom, I could be looking at you right now and you're thinking, wow, Lauren's my friend. And I'm actually thinking 20 ways I can kill you. Some reason operatives love to say that. I don't know if that's something they talk about in Bad Guy Operative 101, but it's like they all say the same thing. I've heard this a couple of times, different operatives going, I could be looking at you 20, like I'm your best friend. I'm like, 20 ways you can kill me.
All right. Let's keep going because we got so much to do. The next one is Michael Jackson. So when I was talking with you right before we went live, I had brought up when you were talking about the All Access Pass, I'd asked you about that. You were talking about, that leads to, whole backroom deals. And we talked about Harvey Weinstein. And then I said, well, where in the grand scheme of things is Michael Jackson? Because I'm under the impression that he was actually a good guy trying to tell the common people, that means the public, us, what was really going on. So you said what?
Exactly. Michael Jackson was the other side of this backroom deal story. He actually wanted to tell the truth. And when you get smear campaigned by the media really, really hard, that's cabal. If you get groomed by the media really, really well, that's cabal. So really what's going on is like people like Keanu Reeves and such, like he was given the work because the suit said he has to be the role. Wachowskis didn't even pick him. They wanted to make his career because Keanu Reeves was exactly what they wanted. Because can we argue that Keanu Reeves was well groomed and presented very, very well in the public? That means he's part cabal. And we know that there's been correspondence between Keanu Reeves and our team. So so he knows he needs to do the right thing. And it's like, but if you're groomed really well, you're a cabal, you're inside. Michael Jackson was trying to tell the truth and he got smeared to the media. It would have been a different story for Michael if he had been on the inside.
Oh, sure. But what made him want to try and tell the truth? Had something happened to him or he was just tired of it? Or do you know what happened?
He's being followed and he knew that they were starting to move on him. So they actually follow your phone calls and things like that. That is not a conspiracy theory. That's actually true. In fact, we have communication with our guys on our phone now. They know that we know. So we actually have conversations on my phone with those that are assigned to me. That's what's so funny is that's a sign, this not to sidetrack this, but it's a sign that they know that we're winning and they want to be on the good side. And that's what's happening is they want to be on the good side, right? And so now people that tap me actually have conversations with me. It's just fascinating. Or they'll imitate and things like that. It's really fun. But so, and I actually said, I actually told them I want to make a movie of the people that are listening in so that, that their story would be fascinating. And I said it would really market well. And they like that. Anyway, but isn't that funny? Yeah. But Michael Jackson knew he was being tapped. He knew he was being followed. His sister knew it too. And if the vans are showing up, it's like what the Disney exec told me. They said that, these guys are just doing their job. That's funny to justify it. They're just doing their job. And it's like, what it is to show you is they can get to your last son anytime they want. That's what he told me. It's on tape. I taped them. They're not that bright. You get them into a conversation, suddenly they say everything, answer your questions. That's what you shouldn't take on award-winning writers and actors cabal, because we're going to find ways to snow you back and find out how to get information from you by playing our part. So,
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Adrenochrome. Do you know anything about who was in charge of all that? I've heard things about Tom Cruise. Tom Hanks being in charge of it here in the United States. I mean, is this, what is it? What's the deal?
That's an interesting thing. I will always tell you if I don't know an answer, I'll tell you I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not going to create something for sensationalizing.
Oh, no.
So in that aspect, here's what my take is, and this could be, this is just my opinion,
sure.
All right? From where I'm at, what I've seen, my piece of the puzzle, and take it with salt, definitely. But I've probably overdosed you guys on salt right now. So here you go. Mm-hmm. What we have is in the original material, like we said, the red pill and blue pill are reversed, right? But the longevity program, the program, if you will, Mortals program, Matrix program, is based off the growth hormones in the blood of the children, right? Adolescents especially. So now take it from there. The other side is always trying to throw us off track, right? So they blur things and muddy things. So I'm not sure if this adrenochrome, I don't know if I'm saying it right, is a way to blur us off track of the blood of the children being used for experiments for longevity, which is coming true by Stanford, IBM, all the rest, and turn it into something that'll sidetrack us down another rabbit hole. I don't know if people are ingesting blood to get a rush, but sure, people ought to pick that up and said that narrative. I don't say that narrative. I say that what I was speaking about was that I got from God, what I felt led, my piece of the puzzle, take it or leave it, is that the blood of the children, growth hormones, were experimented on for longevity, including protein blockers, to make sure that we would have longevity, and that longevity would be the ticket that would bring a one world order about by it being offered to world leaders and their families, that if they got on board in the program and help create a one world order, their families would live forever and have a utopian earth where the rest of the population would be considered fat and eliminated in the final solution, which is symbolized by an X.
Yeah. Okay. What about as far as, you mentioned about your siblings and your cousins? Why is your bloodline in on all of this? What does this have to do with your parents, grandparents? What's the deal?
Our bloodline, as Roseanne was comparing notes to, it's very similar to Roseanne's too, by the way. So what's interesting is, see the Roman nose? Yeah. Okay. So that's what they call it, the Roman nose, right? So I'm descended from, wow, here we go. It's just bloodline. Line of David. So is Roseanne. Swiss royalty. In fact, there's a castle and a lake and a forest and a town named after my family name, my mom's side. So Swiss royalty. My one ancestor, the Frampton, was knighted at the Battle of Hastings, 1066. So there's this idea of bloodlines and also how you fall in history. Are you at pivotal moments in history also adds to that soup of consideration, And so my bloodlines and my family history falls right into where, okay, this guy is selected to lead, and then they do this whole turnaround where they have the good page and the bad page. So the good page is that, the accomplishments, and we're benefactors, my family line, pretty much. But then you have the bad page created, and that's Sophia Stewart's in charge of that one, really, where she even wrote her own prophecy down as if it's some codex where people are supposed to follow. And in it, she lists herself as the light, and she lists me as the evil one, according to my birthday. So you write your own Nostradamus. Fantastic. Well, that's going to work really well, and then people call you on it and go like, you're listed in Sophia Stewart's codex as the evil one. Like, well, yeah, she would write that in. Yeah, she would write that in. But,
interesting. Very interesting. So they go all the way back to these, to your bloodline for generation after generation. That's interesting.
It's part of the reset consideration, what they do. And it's just chilling and scary. It's not based totally on your merit. The reset with who's going to survive that 1% inclusion, right? Who's going to be included in the 1% and who's going to be eliminated, right? In these wars that are supposed to do it, which are trying to tweak up to right now. That's the excuse to eliminate populations. It'll be our own government putting the guns on us, right? Hiring different organizations. I know what's going on here, and it's insane. And private organizations like BlackRock and Blackwater and all that stuff are being prepared for the reset. It's insane. And so what's interesting is part of the consideration on whether we're going to be brought in is that history, the bloodline, and if you meet the certain parameters, then you are to be one of the 1%. They don't want to lose you from that genetic pool. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so wow, there's a lot to all of that as well. Okay, I'm going to ask you a few of the viewer questions real quick while we got a few minutes. Producer Ron says he did extend the time a little bit for the network, so we could keep going a little bit more. If you're okay, are you okay?
This is changing the world, I'm told. So us doing this right now is going to make them shake in their boots on the other side. It's like Megamind with his baby seal boots. We're going to make them shake. So for God's glory, I have more minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. So Tom, before we get into the viewer comments and questions, I want to ask you this. We've talked about the end times. And so what is the most powerful thing that we, the common people, can do?
Look for your people that are being persecuted. The people of your flock, of your body, Christ's body, that are being shut down, persecuted, not on mainstream media, because it's not going to show up there. Look for those cries in the wilderness, cries in the darkness. I'm very emotional about this. There's so many people that have a peace and a calling by God that are being buried because the cabal knows their importance and the influence they will have. Let us find them, let us lift them, let us nurture them, and let them do their job, because they're going to be hurting and they're going to need some healing and there's going to be some understanding needed. I feel
so. What are some examples? Do you know of some people that are some examples?
I know a lot of people contact me, and it's hard for me to discern who's what, because part of the tactics is to send me people that are players all the time. And every time I lift out and say, oh my gosh, I'm so with you. And they use this device, Michelle, called mirroring. I can't say it. Mirroring.
Yep, I know exactly.
To have your story as their story. And oh my gosh, it's such a coincidence. We must be meant to work together by God. And it works a lot. So you try to be like that guy who's not going to cut. Because I don't want to do this where I cut somebody off when they're actually genuine after I cut off the ones that were bad. And the ninth time someone genuine comes along and I do it out of reaction.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. I see it.
All right.
And you know, people are like, well, did she not vet them? And it's like, yeah, but they lie. You know, it's like a switch flips and then it's a completely different person.
The flip side of that too is you'll vet the material like Roseanne did. She vets all this material, right? You show her the material and that's her job. And that's my job to show her the evidence. This evidence is crucial. It can't be denied. You can't go and change all the entries of the high school and birthday in all the films and all the copies of it all over the world. You can't do it. They shot themselves in the foot. Ergo, the Wachowski's punishment. So what they do is say, oh, please vet your guests better. You know, vet your guests better. And it's an embarrassment for you to have him on. He's a fraud. So easy to throw those terms. But if we're showing evidence, I think the fraud's on the other side.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's look at some of the. I have viewers that write some of the best questions.
I love it.
So we're Southern Georgia. We're going to start with that one that you had mentioned, Mr. Althouse. When did this criminality come? Oh, that's not the one that I think she wrote, but let's do this one. So when did this criminality come to Hollywood, prior to World War II or World War I, or has it always been since inception? Do you know?
That is a great question. Here's my take on it. I don't know the full answer. I'm leaving it open. I have understanding on it, but we're going to discover more things altogether that were behind the scene. So there might have been earlier things too. It seems like the real answer would be World War II is really a key point, because when the agencies form, CIA, FBI, letter agencies form, is when they're really going to take hold. Those agencies are formed at a time where they're doing espionage, everything else, in order to control not only outside this country, but inside this country. And they make the deal with Disney. I think a lot of us know that they're calling it under the caption of national security. A lot of you know this. But it's like, that's when it really embeds and hits home. And this mentality takes hold that U.S. citizens are assets of the agencies and the country and the Pentagon. That's when this mentality takes hold, which takes us apart from God in their thinking. You know, so suddenly we're assets, which then follows that any intellectual property, anything you create, any music you make, anything you do is the property of the U.S. and their agencies, because it's for national security. So therefore, as an asset, whatever you create is theirs. They echo that in Iron Man 2 when Obadiah talks to Tony Stark, paralyzes him and says, you think since you made this, it's yours. It's echoed right there in plain sight.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Eyes of a Lady says Michael Jackson called out Tommy Mottola of Sony. Yes. And he said, too, that they were lying to us and that, you know, in the school, the textbooks. I mean, he was talking.
Sony was one of the main players right there in bed with Disney in this whole thing. Sony is super uber corrupt. Believe me, they've had their tentacles out to me so many times and contacts my way. So yeah. Okay,
makes sense. All right. So this was what you saw earlier from Southern Georgia, Mr. Althouse. Have you had mental health help? You seem so put together, or did God just take away all your pain?
God did it. I was supposed to take a path of self-healing, so our psych field can get a wake-up call that they don't have the answers, and they're stuck with a regurgitation of different methods and systems that do not work with all these drugs being applied. God can heal us. These psych people, a lot of them coming into the field, not to step on toes, but a lot of them have problems themselves, and that's why they're entering the field. So they're not the best people for us to talk to. In fact, in my situation, God made sure of it. I love the question. God made sure that I wouldn't be relying on it, because the agency would contact anybody who attended to me. Even it was under the thing about let's have a clean bill of health so they can't haul me off in these fake 302 arrests anymore. This congressman is doing with my sister. So that's the answer to that. And what also healed me was God taught me to think on what matters. And that is, you all matter. You matter to God, so you matter to me. And you matter to me all the way. And so what's going on is I'm not going to stop because you do matter. Like, I mean, the core, if we're crying over it, you matter to us. God taught me that in the beginning. He said, you have to have compassion. In order to do this work, you have to have compassion. The storm I'm sending your way. And I'm like, I have compassion, Lord. I have compassion. No, you don't. You're going to have to learn. It's a discipline. You have to learn compassion. He took me through a process like a boot camp where I learned compassion. I'll tell you what, I didn't know what it was before, even though I thought it was one of the best. I did not know. And now I do. And that's why I tear up all the time. I talk about compassionate things. So yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm very tenderhearted and compassionate. And so, and I find that the closer I am, to God, that, and you really stay in that closeness, that it's easier to love people and walk in that, forgive. God taught me how to forgive and to have grace, gratitude, grace, mercy, and forgiveness. It was a journey.
Exactly.
And so I wrote on that. And it's like, so I think for me, and I was thinking about this morning, it's easy for me to love people and have grace and mercy and focus on the great things in my life and the people, that God's children, because when I know that when I'm taking care of God's creation, God's children, not everybody is God's children, but because, there are people that have turned their minds over to a reprobate mind. And so, but they haven't surrendered. But when we're close to God, it's easier, I think sometimes to walk in that compassion and love people where they're at.
God bless you, Michelle. You just gave me an answer to a question I never, ever thought of before. And so the answer and question came simultaneously. And I'm grateful to you and your audience that it happened right here on the air. If you saw my face, he just answered the question. When I asked him, I never understood this until now. When I asked him, what can we do to be closer to you? What can we do to be close to you, God? What can we do as our children to prove ourselves? He took me through the training of compassion. I didn't make the connection. He's saying, if you want to be close to me, learn compassion. Learn it really, and you'll be close to me. If you want to be closest to God, closest to Christ, then have compassion, and you'll have that embrace. You'll feel it. He showed us the way, and I didn't even catch it until today on this program.
Yeah, it's so good. And, God is love. And so when you're compassionate with people, it's easy to love on them. It's easy to be there for them, and accept them where they're at,
That's the funny thing. Yeah, go ahead. Finish. Sorry.
No.
When I was at Robertson's organization, they were very proudly arrogant, like in an arrogant way. They kept saying this phrase, they're going to know us by our love. And I'm like, I don't see any love at all. It's like, I don't see any love at all. It's like, if you are going to be known by your love, you're going to compassion for those, all of God's creation, all of people, all of life, animals too. You're going to have compassion that you can't control it. And when you can't control your compassion, psych service is out of job. It's like they don't know what to do. And they're not the ones that are healing you. It's God. God's doing it. He has the answer. So when I asked that question, he gave us the answer. It really is compassion. And what did they say they don't have on the other side? Compassion. The Disney exec on the phone, when I recorded the call, when I actually said, why are they doing this to me and my family? You have to understand, Tom, it's all about power. You dared to face us down. I'm like, well, what about compassion? No clue. They don't understand at all. And that determines who's going to win the fight in the end. I often wondered, why would Satan engage in this fight when he just has to look at the scriptures and realize he's going to lose? After a kid, I was asking, why would he do that? Why would he continue to fight when he knows he's going to lose? Well, just look at Hollywood. There's your answer. Their mentality. They're like, they don't. They don't have compassion. Without compassion, you can't understand it. Anyway, yeah.
All right, let's keep going. A couple more. So let's see here. KM Sunshine 1974 says, I have to admit, I never watched The Matrix, but this information is very interesting. I like that. Yeah. Can Tom shed light on the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, located on Getty Center Drive Street? Any truth to underground trafficking?
That is a great question. I was actually led to the Getty Museum. I will say led. I don't know if the terminology should be used, but I was given to go there. I felt guided to go there. And when I was there, it was a very odd feeling. Just like the, what's that called? This observatory up on top of Hollywood, above Hollywood, the Griffith Griffith Observatory.
Okay.
What you find is there's certain people in charge that are security and oversight of these different places that are on the grounds that are noting who you are. It's just bizarre. Where I actually got approached and almost apprehended when I'm just looking around. So it's like, it was just bizarre where they're aware of who you are, and they have these different central key areas that seem to be very important to the cabal. And example is Joel Silver, the man I mentioned that,
Yes.
was, most hated man in Hollywood, Matrix. He bought up the post office at the historic post office in Ventura. Mike Lang, who I told you about, that's Harvey Weinstein's boss, who was supplied the honeypot wife. He bought the most historic area in Spokane, Washington, the Soho Club next to Chase Bank. So they're buying up all these historic properties. There's something to this. We don't understand exactly what's going on, but it's almost like Ghostbusters. They're buying up all these old ancient buildings. Not ancient. Europeans laugh at us at that. But older buildings, historic buildings. Why are they buying up all these historic buildings? And I don't have the answer to it yet. I just know they're doing it, and they're fervent about it. And the Getty Museum, very good question, because I noticed there was sort of a cacophony there. It was like, it didn't seem to have any rhyme or reason to it. It seemed like it was a collection that was disconnected. I didn't know. I felt odd at the Getty Museum, but yeah.
Yeah, I had read that a lot of older buildings, actually, when they were built, hundreds of years ago, a lot of them, they already have the underground and they all connect. And so that could be part of what you're onto when you're talking about these properties that are older.
That is such a huge assessment. Great question and great answer by you. And yes, because they even put it in Walking Dead. In Walking Dead, they said, how are we going to get out of this? We're surrounded by the dead, Walking Dead. We're surrounded by zombies. How are we going to get out of here? And the one lady says, well, back in the day, they've always had these cisterns or these escapeway ladderways for the waters under the building. This is an older building. It'll have those tunnels.
Oh, there you go.
Michelle. Well done, person who asked the question. You just
all right.
There you go. Thank you. Another answer. I'm learning so much today. Thank you.
You know what? You said you would. All right. So the next one is just joined in. So what's the deal? Okay, we talked about that. Is it true that there's a city that runs underneath Getty Museum in LA with that does trafficking and sacrifice? Have you ever been underground?
Yes, I've been underground, and it's like Disney has the tunnels. We've got. I actually put it in the original screenplay, right? You've got the underground city that they lifted for Zion, and I actually referred to it as Zion at first, and that was called Wintergreen in real life, Wintergreen, right? And that is where senators and congressmen, all of them are going to go and everything. So it doesn't make sense they can entertain whoever they want at these secure, ultra secure. You can't have cameras, you can't have infiltration, you can't even anything get in there. So whatever you want is done there, right? And so trafficking can be done in these secure areas, and perpetrators want the most secure area possible, especially when they're statesmen and stateswomen.
You're talking awfully freely. And so I have to ask you, how is it that you're talking so freely when this could be so dangerous? And so is there something going on in Hollywood and with people that are powerful that have changed for you? Or what do you think is going on? We hear about Gitmo, we hear about all this stuff, but what's going on?
Two things. They're all fans of the work. Every time an agent comes to me or some official and even a judge, they'll say they're really fans of the work. The common knowledge they know. So they're fans of the work. Lauren Holmberg at the Masons, fans of the work. We're all fans of your work. We're fascinated by your story. That's one answer. The other answer about why I'm not afraid is because they're more afraid of me than I am them. And that was actually what happened in the Civil War with, Grant? I think it was Grant that climbed the mountain. I think it was Tennessee, where they were expecting the Confederates to be right there, right? Confederates to be there. And he got to the mountain and saw they weren't there. Johnston had moved the army. And he said, at that point, I realized they were just as afraid of me as I was of them. And so really, that's a big thing. When you're all about power, you can't seem weak. You can't seem afraid. If you are afraid, they head the other way. Brian Fitzpatrick's reaction that we talked about, the lifelong FBI guy who's a congressman, his action by going to Brooke Shields right now after the Roseanne Barr interview to try to get a segment of society that would deal with us making our film shows great fear. Now, there's another part of this. If you show great fear within the cabal, you are going to draw attention from the WASPs. They're going to look at you. The bears are going to get angry. They're going to look at you as a weak link, a possible potential problem. So if you show fear, that's why all the bravado is done on the air and everything. Then they will quietly eliminate you next year off a doorknob.
Wow. Okay. This is my heart breaks for Tom. God, so many people, praise God, so many people are coming forward lately. Something must be changing that they feel free to speak up now. Do you think that, because like there are people that look different. And
Yes.
so I know you spent some time also with Roseanne. So what's the kind of, consensus about what's going on?
Well, what's in the Immortals, I'm going to pitch this right from my arena. What I'm aware of is in the Immortals, you've got the longevity program, right? Stanford, IBM have announced, in fact, that billionaires are now contributing to the longevity program. They want to live forever. Now, we can have a debate forever, right? Anybody could do that on what should we do, what should we wouldn't. But anyway, it's there, it's happening. So in the story, part of the backstory is that all these different rich people and world leaders are suddenly disappearing. They're not disappearing because there's tribunals going on. They're disappearing because they don't want the general public to see them not aging anymore. And so that's what caused, they think, a realization and panic. The only exceptions are the Wachowskis. They don't want to disappear right now. And they're pushing that envelope. Remember those that think they deserve the rewards and they don't realize what's happening behind their back, that they're actually being a liability to the cabal? Well, they're being a liability to the cabal and demanding more rewards. And they're setting themselves up for a disappearance. If the Wachowskis disappeared in the next week or so, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying the way the cabal works and how well I know that animal and what I was groomed to lead in, I know what happens and what the rules are and what the results are. We make you, we break you. And they are certainly crossing the line, especially when they put all this author's work, who was supposed to lead in the cabal, in the Matrix and following other projects. They have way crossed the line. They have spent their credit card. They have spent their safety card. Their get out of jail card is busted. And it's like parents saying, you're out of time. So I would not be surprised. So if something happens to them, I'm not making a pronouncement. I'm just saying if something happens to them, turn back to our program, take a look. Because I'm saying they've gone too far in the cabal. I know how the cabal works.
That's interesting. All right. KM Sunshine said, wow, this message is amazing. And I would say too, what about as far as the television pastors and all of the stuff that you see? I mean, is that part of the whole Fight Club where they're all covering for each other? Because I've heard that.
You have to be allowed to be a big television pastor. The cabal has to enable that and allow it. I don't mean to bust bubbles, but they have to allow you to have that airtime. That's why Fitzpatrick's going to the equity group right now with Brooke Shields. They want to make sure they have the strings they can still pull, where if you are not doing what they want, you're going to get struck, right? And so what I got a call from, what I believe God was telling me was that we're to go back to grassroots churches and local community ministering. We're not supposed to have this Costco broadcasting. Now, people can argue either way, but I'm telling you, there's too much of temptation to get into its success and fame, and we're celebrities. Robertson touted that all the time when I was around him. We got to get rid of that. And to break that way and keep our eyes on God, let's get rid of the Costco churches, if you will, and support your local community. Find a body that can minister to you in your local area, and you can keep tabs on what happens with your children and with everything else in your local area. Build community. Don't build the monster. Don't build the beast. Makes sense.
Yeah. And we have Mark Taylor on, and he and I talk about all the time. If you can't find a local, like a home study group, then start your own.
Exactly.
Go back to the home.
Exactly. I got ministered so much, but it's such a good point. It's a good statement, Michelle. It's like I got ministered so much by a local church I went to, non-denominational, and they're talking about the story of Joseph, and I'm just sitting there in tears. And I don't get that way with these televangelists because I know I can discern. First of all, God gave me this discernment ability. I know what they're thinking. I can't watch them. I know what they're thinking. And a lot of it is Sophia Stewart's company name embodied, where her company name is All Eyes on Me. If anybody thinks Sophia Stewart actually is the author, you can't write the material if you're all about all eyes on me. It's all on God. That's all right. On God.
That goes back to the natural giftings and talents. And that's why they called you a golden goose.
Yeah, because of the product I can produce. God didn't just open the doors. When I asked that question, he gave me that cup, he said, to drink, the suffering of the cup. He also promised amazing creativity, inventions, things like that. And it's going all the time. It's like he did exactly what he said he would do. And it's going off. I'm writing films all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've been seeing better than Matrix. And that's why Disney on the ropes. That's also why I'm still alive. They want the materials.
And so they just keep trying to steal it.
They keep trying to entice me to become a script doctor in Hollywood, where I'll have beautiful women. They said, which also your promise. Like, well, they don't know me very well. It's like, I don't want multiple beautiful women. I'd like to have a beautiful life with somebody who naturally we connect with, that God orchestrated and called, and don't try to mess with God's work. And it's like, also, I'd like to see something where I don't want to script doctor other people's work to steal it for the studios. I don't want to steal other people's work. Otherwise, I'm not honoring the memory of my murdered sons. I'm not honoring my last son's living memory either. I'm not honoring him. That means I sold out.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I won't play.
Because God's not in that.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
We have a chance now to turn it all around. And that's what paparazzi have been telling me, that a new Hollywood's forming. And what I've been saying to Disney, I've been drilling Disney like they've been drilling me. I've been drilling them, saying, get with it, genuine writers, have compassion, stop these agendas, protect the children, and your work will reflect that. And you won't have to look over your shoulder anymore to cover up your wrongdoing. So clean house, do it right. Yeah.
So I wrote a book, and it was it earned an international award in business and finance books. But how I wrote that book was, one night I got a download, Tom, and it was like 7 minutes. I say I wrote the book in 7 minutes, and it was just this download of things that I had said, for years and all these things. And so is that how it happens for you? Like, I mean, the last thing I'd ever think about was writing a book. So do you have these downloads? Because I'll have a download. Do you
Oh
have?
my gosh, Michelle, let me tell you. You can be driving in the car, you can be taking a shower, you can be mowing the lawn, and suddenly it comes. And you know that you have to go, I call it the flow. You got to go with the flow, and you got to get it down as fast as you can. I'm laughing and crying while I'm writing it. And then I discover things even years later that were interlaced in the download that I got. So I'm just awesome. Like, wow. So God is brilliant. He looks for a humble heart that has compassion in order for us to be the vehicle to translate these brilliant things that come from God.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And, even like one day I knew there was just things, and so like I had a knowing that I was supposed to take these little pieces of paper that I used for a different speaking engagement, but I was to take those and I was to write the title of each chapter. And then God was going to show me where to put them as far as, in order, because they were 55 fast tips. Well, then later when God called me to do these speaking engagements, I ended up being able to, like, crazy stuff that I just look so brilliant. But I used to tell people, I was like, I really am not this smart, but it was so crazy the way it all worked out, where the first fast tip out of 55 is correct your mindset. And so it was like a whole thing, and so I used to talk about that and teach that to people, but that was where my life changed, was when I corrected my mindset. But I didn't know I was going to be doing the speaking engagements and the classes and all this. And so it was just so amazing, though, because God, just so much stuff that God did. So it was great.
That's
so
beautiful.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. That's what he gave me, was that he termed it for me layered thinking, where if we put just positive inputs into our mind, right, our mind will work with honesty. It's made to work with honesty. God designed us well, where it'll spit out answers. But if we lie to ourselves, our mind knows it's lying to it. Mm-hmm. And so it gums up the whole system where we can't create anymore. But if you want to be freed and freed up to have a beautiful life, put only positive inputs into your mind. Don't put into the mind like, Mary Jane really pissed me off and I'm going to be so angry at her. Well, I just want to do something where she shuts up. Your mind's going to work on that, And if you lie to yourself, to Mary Jane, and say something like, you're really a rotten person. You did me. Well, said some kind of lie, where that's going to go into your mind also. Once your mind realizes you're lying to it, it's going to gum up the works. If you want good work, then just do not lie to yourself, and don't lie to others. Honesty is the ticket to do great.
Yeah, that's so good. When I talk about correcting your mindset, I actually talk about how our minds are like a computer. So I used to be 103 pounds, and I used to think I was fat. Mm-hmm. And so I bought medium shirts when really I needed to buy a small, and so and I talk about how it affects your mindset, the way you see yourself, the things that you do, your actions. I was buying the wrong size of shirts, right? Because your brain is like a computer. It just takes in what you feed it. And it doesn't go, oh, Tom, that's a lie. You can't say that. And so it ends up changing so much other stuff, like the things that you do, your belief system, all of it. And so it's very interesting.
That's absolutely right. And your vibrancy is affected. Animals, children, all those others respond to layers of feeling that are genuine and kind and good. And if you put in lies into your mind, your presentation of who you are, your appearance, like your way you come across, is going to be very suddenly plastic to narrow down, where you suddenly feel like you're feeling one thing at a time almost. You're masking yourself. But if you have nothing to hide and you're honest, vibrancy appears and life in the eyes appear. Like when I met Roseanne, I was like your eyes too. It's like they were just vibrant, full of life. First thing I noticed was I knew I could trust her because of how vibrant she was, and it came through the eyes and everything else. It's like the windows of the soul, basically. And if you are false, it's going to be like Brian Fitzpatrick. If you ever see images of him, it's like this. I can't even do it. It's just.
All right. Wow, that's good. Southern Georgia said, yeah, wow, the church has been infiltrated for a long time. That's interesting. That's what I loved about what we were talking about. So Southern Georgia also said, for someone that doesn't know the Christian terminology, he is nailing it. Well, you had some training.
Yeah. I mean, I had Robertson training.
Yeah.
So I've had the back channel versions. So if I'm getting words right, I just feel like what words are coming, I'm just picking words that I feel. So thank you.
That's good. So that's interesting. Great interview. Does Tom know anything about Jimmy Carter? Oh,
I think Jimmy Carter was actually genuine, and the way he survived. I'm guessing, though I don't know the answers totally, but from what I got so far, and I could be very wrong, is that he was able to play the system by being like a Jimmy Stewart type character. By being the lovable down-home boy, the cabal can be fooled into thinking that you're kind of naive. And I learned to play that game also, where I would come across like just joking and just this, and it does fool the cabal. It can be a cloaking device where they don't just come down on you because they think that you're ignorant to what their plans are, and you're actually taking it all in and really absorbing it. So, but I don't know because to be a president, you have to go through a whole system of conditioning inputs, just like I was being groomed by Pat Robertson, the FBI, cabal. It was like there's all these questions you ask you, and you're supposed to respond, and you will move the next step up if you give the answer they want. If you're giving the answer they want, that can be a problem because that means you're going along with what they want. So I was cut early on. Yeah, that's
interesting. Natalie Howard is asking, what is your take on Stephen Baldwin? I don't know if you're having trouble accessing X, but he's been on there and he's had some very interesting videos, and it almost seems like he's hinting that there's changes and all different kinds of stuff coming on. And it's almost like I take a lot of his videos as though he's kind of, like bad things are happening to bad people. So what do you think?
Give me the background on Stephen Baldwin.
Well, he's one of the 4 Baldwin brothers. His daughter married the famous singer, I forget his name, kid. And so.
See, I don't know him. I don't know who he is. Remember I told you I was very isolated from, like, I was give original thoughts and things. That's what's blowing people away in Hollywood, as they said, like, everything's done in the sun. And they're like, you've got all this stuff that was brand new, because I was supposed to be insulated from a lot of these celebrities and different people. But the answer is I don't know who he is, believe it or not. So I've been insulated from knowledge on him, which might be an answer in itself.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Alec Baldwin is one of his brothers, and it's Justin Bieber. The daughter.
Well, Alec Baldwin, Alec Baldwin. Now I get you. All right, now I understand. Because Alec Baldwin was actually, when I was asked who would play the lead character, Thomas A. character in our script, I had suggested Alec Baldwin because at the time he seemed like an understated actor. Then something happened to him where he seemed to change up or get approached, because I had suggested to Bonaventura that he'd be the good lead. At the time, he seemed perfectly suited. And then something happened to him, like they got to him or something. So the families usually get approached together.
So the whole family has all different kinds of stuff going on. But he was somebody who, was having these videos. So it's just interesting. And so I understand why that's being brought up. It's interesting.
What's the video content? Like, what's his
take? It's little videos that he does of himself, and a lot of times it looks like he's kind of coy, is one way I would describe it, and that he is really hinting around that bad things are happening around Hollywood to bad people.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't think that's bad. So I don't know the inside story on it, but if you're leaking stuff that the cabal doesn't like, you're taking a risk. You are definitely taking a risk. And my advice is, if you're going to do it, go all out. That's the weird thing about it, is if you put your foot through that door, that pathway, you have to go all out, because that will actually save you and the rest of your loved ones' lives, is going all out. That's why I don't hold anything back. I was told that since I did what I'm doing and not holding anything back, that's what saved my life and my son's life, because information is already out there. They can't make a move right now. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Very good. Okay. So it said he has posted one about a video about Homeland Security has been into Hollywood.
Yeah, of course they have. Yeah. In fact, the agencies have a say on what content is in. And that's what happened to my screenplay. The reason my screenplay was taken and I wasn't given credit for it is because I'm putting everything about the agencies in it. Neo actually, in my screenplay, the original work that God put through me, was Neo's actually part of the CIA in the beginning. In the original story, he's actually a lower echelon department head. And then the Smith agent is actually high up in the agency, CIA. So isn't that something that he's high up? And that's why they didn't want that out either, because Central Intelligence Agency then in the story becomes Central. The One World Order governing agency is Central Agency from CIA. So it predicted that the Central Intelligence Agency would be the one governing agency in the world body in the reset. And they didn't like that. Apparently that was correct. And that'll be coming true.
Wow. Well, the CIA was weren't they even involved in a lot of the James Bond stuff and, working together with Broccoli?
Joel Silver actually bought the franchise. So the one that took my work, was the lead orchestrator taking my work, bought the James Bond franchise.
Tidbit, I read a lot of books. And so I read Kathy O'Brien's book, and then I also read Bryce Taylor's book. So both of them were MK Ultra presidential models to, obviously trafficked presidents and throughout the country and the world. But one of them, and I can't remember for sure which one, might have been Kathy, could have been Bryce. I just don't remember. But it was interesting because I remember reading that the only president that didn't abuse them, as far as what the presidents that were alive at that time, was Jimmy Carter. That he was not interested in abusing these, in having sex or whatever, however you want to say it, because to me it's abuse.
That would line up with my impression too. That would line up with what I've been getting, because I haven't tapped into the whole presidential things. But with Trump's interest lately, I've had to view these things. But it's interesting that I'm being brought into that whole situation now. The president run.
The president what? Oh, that to the
run. Yeah. Considered like
that's interesting.
A threat to one side and asset to the other. Yeah.
I think the big thing that I'm really getting from today's interview as well is that we need to be really praying for the president and for those that are working for good. I do want to talk. We're going to have you back. We'll have to talk about the Masons and the Ukraine stuff, because that's good, but that's way more. But real quick, I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we'll go on ahead and close out for today. But that is about JD Vance. So I haven't really talked a lot about Vance here on the show, because he's just a president. Who knows what, vice president, I mean. But also, are you familiar with the fact that Vance means like swampland?
No, I didn't know that.
Marshland. It's marshland, which is like a swamp. So he's always talking about draining the swamp. Trump is. So I just thought that was interesting. But I know that you had some information. And do you want to share that about what you were hearing?
I can tell you what I received. Yes. Yesterday I got from a congressional candidate. She sent it to me because different people are contacting now and filling information in for me. And one of the ones was this goes to the future conversation we'll have on the air again that you talked about Ukraine. So Ukraine, what happened in Ukraine, nutshell, real quick, the context of Vance. The Fitzpatrick guy, he had a brother David and Michael, I think it was, and they are the ones that were also working with the FBI and Trudeau's administration, a guy named Baxter, to subjugate that sovereign nation and to make it a Pentagon puppet state. And that's exactly what they did. And so in the process of that, to actually help push a war with Russia, to tweak Putin's nose, they brought over young girls or girls from Ukraine and put them into a gentleman's club in Pennsylvania, where Fitzpatrick has jurisdiction. So the mafia with Fitzpatrick formed this gentleman's club, right? And they actually have tunnels in it. I'm told they have tunnels in that also. And so they actually have the audacity to hang a Ukrainian flag out front. It's like at New Hope, Pennsylvania. And Vance has been now invited to a party there at the Gentleman's Club. And I'm just amazed that that's going on. And so you look at the question of why was Trump on Elon Musk? That was a tactical move by them through Elon Musk to have Trump on. Now Vance is being invited apparently to the Gentleman's Club, where the Ukrainian flag, where they're subjugating, they're exploiting the women from Ukraine as dancers. It's unbelievable. They just dirty hands and put it in plain sight. It's mind-boggling. right? It's mind-boggling. So Brooke Shields hugging Fitzpatrick, she's being utilized also. Dirty hands, basically, they're trying to do. So I don't think Brooke has a clue of what's going on.
Oh, wow. Okay. So she's not necessarily compromised.
I think she just thought, well, here's a congressman that wants to put the bill forward. And what's interesting is this bill of tax breaks for actors, that's something I would advocate too, obviously. And so what Fitzpatrick's doing is putting his name on it, getting publicity photo ops from it when it should be done anyway. But he's going to utilize it as he's the savior in that particular thing to control that field so that we may not get an equity tab on our projects that Roseanne and I are working on, things like that.
That's amazing, Tom. All right. Thank you so much for breaking down all of this that's been going on and just the inside information and your own experience, your life experience. I find that some of the people that really have some of the best relationships with our Heavenly Father are those that have been MK Ultra, grew up in the satanic stuff, and, they just really, really know the Lord. And so it's just so good when we talk with somebody like you and get to hear some great stuff like these downloads and just you having, these God's given talents.
No, I will stay on his path. I told my mom, I said, I'm going to stay on his path and I'm not going to look to the right or the left. He said, follow exactly what he does. And sometimes I go places I don't even know why I'm going. I find out later. But I will say this. We have the grave for the unknown soldier. Say your prayers for the unknown Christians, the unknown people who are called by God and trying to serve him, being slammed down so that you'll never know them, so their influence would not be felt. And they have very important pieces that can change our world and make it better. I am able to speak to you on the air. They are not. So let's pray for those that are called, that they can be able to come forward and get under the hand of oppression, get it off of them.
Yes, that's so good. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much. And I love the compassion. You can see it in Tom's face as he was even talking right then. It's just amazing. All right. Well, we'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wave Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. You've got to hear some testimonies from people just like you. I absolutely love this Wave Watch. It has helped me with occasional aches, cramps in my muscles. I twisted my knee a month ago, and the Wave Watch has helped tremendously with the pain while healing. And how about this one from Debbie in Colorado? My left leg was hurt bad enough that I would cry when walking to the doctor. Doctor appointments are $170 and chiropractic sessions were $45 many times for the last 2 years. My hands and neck are stiff. My leg quit throbbing within 5 minutes of the session for bursitis, and 2 hours later, still no pain. Why not try the Wave Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Go to wavewatch.com. At checkout, use the code Michelle100 to receive $100 savings on your purchase.
I'm Dr. Fulgens. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1-ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.